Call to order at 9:36.
9:36, okay.
So it's showing,
And this is a meeting of the,
Capital Improvement Plan Committee.
Hangman, Gray.
Sharon, you'll be taking our minutes today?
I will take minutes. I
Ooh,
would also like to
lovely,
lead us
okay.
in the Pledge of Allegiance, if you don't mind. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Wait, I think biographer is Carol. Okay, please, we'll use this one.
Yeah, let's do a quick round of introductions. Just so folks know who we are. I mean,
Mhm.
folks know probably who we are at this point, but, so I'm Joy Gray. I'm the Selectman's rep to the Capital Improvement Committee, Capital Improvement Plan Committee.
I'm Tia Gagnon, and I'm the Planning Board rep to the CIP Committee.
And I'm Sharon Schilling. I'm the Advisory Budget Committee rep to the Capital Improvement Plan Committee.
And we welcome with open arms any members of the public who wish to join the committee.
Yes.
Doug, sorry. Yeah.
I mean, we can have up to how many? Three? Is it?
2 or 3, no?
Two or
Let me-
three, yeah, 2 or 3
All right.
townsfolk, so.
Yeah, I'll
We
read the
highly
article.
encourage your input.
Yeah, I'll read the article that founded the committee. It was Article 23 of the March 2025 town meeting. To see if the town will vote to allow the selectmen to appoint a capital improvement committee per RSA 674:5 that shall include at least one member of the planning board, one member of the advisory budget committee, one selectman, and at least 2 other registered Madison voters whose sole purpose shall be to aid the selectmen and advisory budget committee in their consideration of the annual budget.
So 2 people, come on, folks.
Yeah, that would be great.
It'll be
I think
awesome.
we have to offer food. I think that's usually what works.
We'll make cookies or something.
There we go.
Or buy them. Okay.
And I asked Linda if we needed an oath, and we do not because we've already taken our oaths and we're just reps.
Yep.
So that's a check. And then I guess we could go over, luckily you guys already have a CIP running, so that can advise for this year. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's been in existence for years. It kind of fell by the wayside. It is under the purview of the planning board, who informally handed it to the select board, who informally left it. So budget committee started looking at it last year, the year before.
Yeah.
Kind of
that's what I
started,
did before.
yeah, and I think it was Ned Rogerson who'd kind of been maintaining it. He was kind of the spreadsheet guy.
Yeah.
So we revived it, and Linda was kind enough to get from the department heads their input, because it does list our departments and some boards that have kind of high-ticket items. So one thing that we did, it's debatable as to how much money something costs as to whether it goes on the CIP. Some would argue 5,000 and up, some would argue 10,000 and up. I think we did 5 just to be conservative, just so we had it and can kill it as necessary.
And I think that that's one of the things we can discuss and establish sort of as a, like, okay, this is what it's gonna be, so that going forward, there is no question.
Yeah, that would be great. That was one of my questions too, because I know
Yeah.
you ladies have been involved in this for quite some time, and I'm brand new, and I'm not a numbers person.
Oh, we are, so
Yeah, so I'm
you're
like,
in good
okay,
hands.
this is great. But hopefully I can add to this and just represent the planning board as well.
Cool.
I'm hoping that I wasn't sure if you already had a prompt, like that gets sent out to every board. So there's kind of like a lack of consistency maybe in the information that you're getting back.
So I'll read through the departments that we have on it.
Yeah.
That we can have it. So we did add the charities, the total sum of the charitable warrant articles that we do every year. For example, is it, oh gosh, I think we do just the, yeah, do you have the detailed one? It's that one there.
This one.
Yeah, that one's got all the
artworks
details.
down this way, as I write all over you.
So Ospey Children's Fund and the charities every year. So these are individual warrant articles, but they're added up. They add up to approximately, where are they? Where did they go? Oh, there they are, okay. They're on page 3 is where you see the dollar amounts for those startup. So you can see 2024, we spent $26,000. 2025, $32,000 it went up. So just kind of, just kind of tossed in an estimate of 27 going forward, but that will obviously change every year. So then the next one down.
Well,
Oh, yeah.
unless we decide as a town that no,
We
it'll
cap it.
stay, we're capping it at, I'm gonna make up a number, $30,000. And if it needs to go above $30,000 or $27,000, then that needs a town vote for it to go up, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think that,
That's
I think for planning purposes and financial, consistency, I think it might be important to establish kind of a set amount that the town can afford to donate back.
Because as a town, in town meeting, when you look, actually I have town reports down here. So yeah, so here's the 2024 town report. When you look at the warrant articles, the last 8, 10 or so are the charitable contributions. So Ospey Children's Fund, Meals on Wheels, Starting Point, Way Station, things like that. And we tend to vote on them as a group. We don't tend to go through.
Put that at the end and they're like, all right, let's get out of here.
Yeah.
Pass these through and everyone's like,
We
okay.
support all these charities, we've all read the warrant, yeah. Yeah, so
Yeah.
those are, those vote on a group, so
Okay.
those are the first line in
I like that idea though, and kind of just streamlining it and making it easier to make determinations.
Right.
And then having that all written out, so that's something that could maybe be one of our focuses, like you were saying. How we take in the information and then putting caps on certain things or making like a determination matrix or something like that so we can score.
Right, so that if, in a particular year, we've only allotted, say, $27,000, but somebody comes in and says, ooh, we were looking for $10,000, we'd be able to say, we probably can't do 10, but we can do 5, or whatever's within the budget area, so that we do have the money for the other charities that we, but then again, if somebody doesn't, and maybe we this makes it easier from a warrant article perspective going forward, that we have a warrant article that is a single warrant article that includes all of those, that says, this year we're gonna allocate $27,000, and here's how it's to be distributed. And we take those applications from those individual charities, it gets added, because sometimes there's a charity that doesn't submit. So now if we've allocated $27,000 and there's only 4 charities that submit for, $5,000 each, we have an additional $7,000 to choose, do we want to up the ante to one of those charities? Do we want to just save that money and use it some other time or some other purpose? But it gives the town a little bit of freedom to navigate within those monies and that balance, without going over what the town has agreed to budget for it.
I think the numbers they come up with, some of them are exact even dollar amounts, like 2,500.
Yeah.
But I think some of them that are a little bit more,
Right, and they're
Specific.
submitted by the charity.
yes, for example, Starting Point, well, it's an odd number, but I think they calculate their request, the charity calculates their request based on usage. I think they kind of say, we know these residents of Madison are using it, so they do tend to provide a calculation. or
Yeah.
That's
have it
In the
based on
application there is,
calculation.
yeah. With the town only really, the town voters really only see the final number
Yeah,
request,
that
but.
wonder.
I have a question for you
Sure.
guys. When a charity comes to us, is there a deadline for
Yes.
for charities? Is it different than anybody else's deadline?
I don't think
don't
so.
remember.
I don't think so. And if it is, it would only be because Linda and the folks upstairs need time to process that application, put it all together, understand what the total cost is gonna be, get it. And the biggest issue is they need time to get it to print, so that it gets printed in the book and distributed on time. So there is a deadline for folks to submit. And in the past, especially last year, Joe Dame has worked with, because he heads the food pantry, he has worked with Linda to figure out, here's the list of, the folks we normally get an application from. We haven't heard from these 2 or 3 people. Can you reach out and figure out if they're just running late? Do they not intend to submit? What's going on with them, so that we know, and the upstairs can anticipate that application or not, so.
Okay,
Yeah.
I really like that. I made a little timeline thing, but I wasn't sure if we already had one.
Yeah,
Where I'm not sure if we're allowed to adjust when certain things are due to kind of space it out. So I put something quickly together that is definitely, can be edited.
Yeah, so
But-
we would need to run this through upstairs and find
Okay.
out their deadlines, but
They're not, okay,
but I would think that there's an opportunity based on their deadline to see if we would want to communicate directly with organizations and say, yes, the deadline to the town is this, but we'd appreciate if the deadline to the town is November, but we'd appreciate getting it in October so that we have time to review it, and if there's questions or concerns or comments to you, you have time to receive them and address them.
okay, yeah, I like that.
My understanding is that they don't chase the charities though.
We don't chase them,
Yeah.
we just reach out to them
Yeah.
once to say, are you submitting?
Yeah.
What's the status?
Yeah.
But yeah, we won't chase a charity.
And then what about different departments and boards? So do they have that same deadline, or is that spaced out as
I
well?
wanna say it's
It's February, it's like in here.
Well,
No,
February's
it's
like,
way early.
yeah, I mean, I kinda feel like
December is when
you're really supposed to have it solid, but then kind of conversation happens in
Right.
January and things have to be.
because in December and
printed
January, the
in
ABC tries to bring, we hadn't last year, but we will be this year, bringing in the department head representatives to discuss their budget with the ABC, so
Okay.
that the ABC has questions, specific questions regarding line items in their budget, they can answer it.
Yeah,
Last year, we ended up, poor Linda, we ended up going all through Linda for every question, so then she had to go back upstairs and type emails to each one of the department heads, relaying what our questions were to get the answers.
Okay.
And I'm trying to make sure that we don't overburden her, because as that deadline for the March meeting gets closer,
yeah,
we shift to every 2-week meetings instead of once a month,
okay,
so that we can process that information a little quicker, and because we have to vote yay or nay to the budget. So, and if it's nay, why is there a nay portion? Yes to everything except, the police department or something. I only pick on them because they're right there, so I'm not picking, they just happen to be right there.
so that it would be helpful for the ABC to have more time potentially with
Oh,
the
absolutely.
applications and the department heads.
Right, and that's why I actually start to ask for their draft budgets in August and September. Now, they
Okay.
have very, very, very rudimentary draft budgets at that point. In fact, they're probably just recycling last year's. They don't even necessarily have updated numbers.
Yeah,
And
okay.
the bigger portion comes from some of the updated numbers that are the health insurance, the workers' comp insurance, all the insurances, plus all the whatever pay raises might be in the mix for town folk, and any sort of big outlier.
That goes into the capital, not the operation?
The-
Or is that both?
So from a budget perspective, it goes into the budget, the draft budget.
Okay,
Okay, the stuff, and again, this is discussion for us, what goes in the CIP is mostly equipment or
large capital expenses that have to be, like if we needed to redo the front entrance, I don't know, is that considered the front entrance? I don't know.
I think so.
The face of the building,
Yeah,
sure,
yeah, that part of the street facing side of the building, if that, and, you know, this side needs a new portico or a new porch, that needs to go in here, right? That needs to be planned for, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Anything that's gonna cost you more than $5,000, because I don't think department heads have the ability to authorize an expense that high, do they? Anything over, don't they have to go to the Board of Selectmen for anything over 2?
I don't recall. It's probably in the policies.
Right.
Yeah.
There-
I feel
there's
like when
usually
we
a
were
policies
talking
book here.
with Adam, in planning board, it was like 4 or 5, maybe 5. But we could figure that out.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you've seen one of these. That's the budget drawdown. So this is what was approved for 2025. That was,
Okay.
so this is, when you get a budget, typically you kind of get it in this sort of format.
Right.
So you can see it's broken down by department, total administration, DPW, animal pest control.
Oh, is this?
And it's
in the,
alphabetical.
Is this in the town annual plan? I feel like I've
Okay,
seen
yeah, I think
something like that, but not.
I don't know if it's in that detail.
Okay, it's,
Yeah, it might not be in the same.
I think it might just be these lines, the total lines are in the budget.
okay,
But
Or
yeah,
in
so
the
you've seen
report.
it similar, so this is what was budgeted, this is what was approved at town meeting. Oh no, this is what was spent, then that's what was budgeted, and then are we over or under budget and by what %?
okay, yeah.
So during the
That's
budgeting
helpful.
process, the departments and stuff kind of
So like this,
presented
like
in this format.
admin, like their phone, so they know to budget for a little bit,
Yeah,
or a little less maybe,
yeah.
yeah, okay.
So that's alright, so the next item, we ready?
I have one more question.
Yeah, no, go
Sorry.
ahead. Yeah.
So it's a little arbitrary, like, or ambiguous, like what we're putting into the CIP. So maybe we could solidify
Well,
what,
We kind of,
exactly?
we kind of started to put up some parameters.
right, and
But
I,
yeah, it's not
I wouldn't
solid.
say it's, it's definitely not solid, but I wouldn't say it's arbitrary. I think that there was a pretty good amount of thought that went into what do we need to capture? What is gonna cause, what's
'Cause it
gonna
seems
cause major,
detailed.
it is very detailed.
Yeah.
And I
But
might
if you know Joy Gray, things get very detailed.
And I might have
And,
Yeah, it's like
added,
down to the mileage, like you have,
Yeah.
and that's like the planning piece, like when is this
Exactly.
gonna run out, when is this car gonna die?
Exactly, because
And-
then that triggers a capital expense.
Right.
And so being able to plan ahead, knowing what equipment is being used quickly, you may have planned for its obsolescence in 10 years, but because we've used it so much, we had, I don't know, I'm gonna pick a plow truck, because we had 5 years of really horrendous snow weather, and they were using that truck a lot, then maybe you have to move it from 10 years to 8 years kind of thing. And so having some of that information is really helpful to know whether you have one out of alignment year or whether now 5 years are out of alignment from what you originally planned.
Right,
So-
okay.
alright, so let's take the first one that really has amount of detailed information.
Okay.
Just real quick, you can see the code enforcement, vehicle is in there, like you said, license plate mileage, engine hours, if we have it, parts and repair for 23, parts and repair for 2024, and then kind of the year it was purchased. So I didn't have all the information for that one, but then the Conservation Commission, I put in there, capital reserve fund, forest maintenance account, and they had a scholarship fund that I think is gonna come off, cause they were gonna handle that through donations only. But anyway, so even Conservation Commission, we have things that we add to every year that are like a warrant article, so those are on there.
So it could be maintenance, it could be infrastructure, it could be, just a bigger, so like the scholarship, that's included in there, or it's going to be taken off, but.
Right, and some
so it's-
capital reserve funds,
That we fund.
yes,
So,
that
yeah, so-
come out of the funding for it.
Alright, so I'll go through real quick. So we have the charities, code enforcement vehicle, conservation commission funds, highway equipment, but also highway funds. We have the highway heavy equipment ETF, and the annual road improvements warrant article. So those are about halfway down the page. You can see the type is fund.
Can we,
Yeah.
and maybe this is a later discussion, from a format perspective,
Mm.
can we, at the beginning of each area, put what the ETFs might be, so that they're right up front, they're the first lines in that? So like, see how DPW highway is equipment, and then the funds are at the bottom?
Yep.
Can we switch that so that the funds are at the top? And then I would say at the end, maybe create a different tab or two tabs, one that says this is all like equipment and materials and that kind of stuff, and here's one that are just the funds. And that way, if we ever wanna know how much,
Oh.
from a fund perspective, we're looking at, then we can just go to that tab.
There was something that I was kind of playing with. Whoop, that's still my bag.
So I already got
That was
it.
actually kind of along those lines. Oh,
Aha.
So it's
I had
like
it,
you're
though.
saying, you're kind of putting the warrant article in here, you're saying this is the fund that,
that is the fund that we
So-
fund
Right.
with our, with
So
the
it's a
warrant article.
$10,000, it's a $10,000 bogey, if you will, to the, I'm looking
Oh,
at
yeah.
line number, oh, there are no line numbers.
it's okay, I found it, it's
The
the
highway heavy
okay.
equipment ETF, so
Yep.
we're looking at a $10,000 bogey for that warrant article to put into that fund. But this way, if we had the ability, if that was at the top, we know automatically a minimum of what we need to put into warrant article. What do you need, sweet? Sorry, sweet.
Sweet cheeks.
Sweetie. I'm
I'm
so used to talking to my husband.
There's papers that I brought. Oh, here it is. Here it is. Okay.
Alright, I
Okay.
took them.
Because it's kind of what you're talking about, so.
It might be, this was also in there too.
Yes, yeah, so
Okay.
you each take one of those,
I'm gonna move these to over here so that.
and Doug, I'll give you one.
Just one page.
It's a
it's just one.
two-pager.
Oh, it's 2 pages, okay.
And so this
Is
is
it
kind of what I was
front and
thinking,
back?
similar to what you're talking about, Sharon, where it's, I took a department and then took, so that's the expenses, the next page is the funds that support that department. So this is
Oh, okay.
DPW, so, so these are kind of their equipment, and the anticipated cost of purchase per year, which is the bottom line of this. So they're kind of looking at, considering replacing 3 pieces of equipment, 2026, totaling $515,000. So then I just carried that over to the top of the next side.
I'm gonna vomit.
It's all right, cause look. So the anticipated purchase is repeated at the top of the page with the years. So the highway heavy equipment ETF, Linda will provide us, as she does to the budget committee and stuff, what's currently in each ETF. But we only have planned that we're adding 10,000 a year, that's what we tend to do, which obviously isn't gonna be enough to support 150,000 in 2027, 165,000 in 2028.
But this doesn't show that, or it does? Oh, yeah,
So-
it does.
Yeah,
I was wondering how we accept it and, do we take on this entire $500,000 and accept that, and then we space it out and pay for it annually? Like,
So-
that's our financing schedule?
so if you look down, I'm gonna interrupt you and continue
Yeah.
down. So the funding source is the highway heavy equipment ETF, and funding source number 2,
Okay.
we
Available
did get a
funding.
we were approved for a clean fleet grant that is going
Okay.
to replace one of the pieces of equipment. So that takes 250,000.
Which is for this, and there should be a note next to that to tell you that it's for which one, the tractor trailer or the dump truck body?
It's for, I wanna say the 2005 Peterbilt.
Okay, so, maybe we should
Yep.
somehow put an asterisk or something in there so it goes to the notes at the bottom, put a note at the bottom that says the DES Clean Fleet Grant, $250,000 is slated for the 2005 Peterbilt, so that.
So there are 2, so then it shows at the bottom the funds needed
Do we
to, if
still
we
need-
do also want a $90,000 chipper and a $150,000 replacement dump truck for
So
truck
there's
12.
305,000 currently in the fund,
Okay.
or would be, for 2026, this is 2026, there would be 305 in the fund. We would still need another $210,000 to add to it.
So,
But that just covers 2026. It doesn't cover anything going forward.
but also, like what isn't built into this is just kind of a snapshot, is that, you know, hypothetically, we wouldn't necessarily be spending or receiving a grant. So the cost of that $275,000 truck would be spread out to $35,000 a year over the next 7 years for the lease. So we are taking kind of a hit this year on the warrant articles that does get spread out over the years, but that also means that next year when we're looking at it, we're still paying the $35,000 a year.
Right, that has to go in there. So this would go up from 150 to 185
Cause it'd be the 150 for the,
for
to
whatever.
replace the 2019 International, but then also the 35. So there's,
But recognize this is
So
also one department.
it's the most expensive department.
Well, they have the most
You picked a
equipment.
good- Yeah,
So that's
Okay.
kind of, I think,
this is very helpful because I was wondering, so if we, it's like we need to be saving, so I guess that would be the ETI.
Right. So, however, what we have been doing is buying and then financing it over 7 years. So we have not necessarily taken a look at this to use this as a planning tool. It's more a management tool at the moment. I'd like to see it be more of a planning tool, which says, okay, we get this, we replace this 2005 Peterbilt in 2026 with a brand new machine. We automatically start planning for its obsolescence and putting $10,000 or $15,000 a year away into the CIP, so that when it does come time to replace it, 10 years from now, I'm gonna make a number of, 10 years from now, we've already been planning and have that money when it comes down to this available funds, we have the money. And we don't necessarily have to finance it at 7, 8, or 10%.
We can save on that
We can
interest.
save on that interest, but again, that requires a lot of future thinking and a little bit, well, not a little bit, a medium amount of planning now when you actually get the new asset. You start immediately planning and put it in the CIP, because you know it's gonna get obsolete.
Yeah.
If we plan for 10 years of obsolescence and it ends up taking 15, awesome for us, we've got an extra 5 years to save for replacing the asset. So, yeah.
Thank you for clarifying this because it's a lot of information and
It is.
it's multiple budgets and we're kind of trying to synchronize it with what the town and the community want
Right,
with what we need. And I think that sometimes that the maintenance kind of takes over the CIP and then we're not left with anything to think about for the future. So
Right.
we're like kind of like chasing our tails, like trying to
figure out.
accommodate.
Yeah, how am I gonna accommodate $515,000
Right.
this
And,
year? What is that gonna do? And one of the reasons that we took this on, another piece of history, is it used to be a 10-year CIP. We've, through the work that Joy and Joe and I did, we created it into a 20-year with Ned Rogerson's original input, saying it really needs to be like a 20-year CIP.
John Arruda very
And-
much wanted a 20-year
yeah.
CIP.
Because it gives you a
There's
larger.
a 24-year selectman who just retired.
Yeah.
and he said
So it-
that,
He
that's,
wanted 20.
Yeah.
And we agreed and said, yeah, no, it should be 20, because that gives you a longer planning horizon, allows you to start thinking strategically further out, and planning for some of these things. So that, because the goal was that you're not seeing townspeople's taxes doing these things, going up
Right.
and down and up and down and up and down.
like they don't deserve, like we don't deserve that. We can do,
Right.
we can manage it.
Right, and so
better.
you, as a taxpayer, you deserve to have at least a little bit of an idea of where your taxes are gonna fall out from year to year to year.
Yeah.
Without some of this, there's no way to know. It all becomes, holy cow, we broke something, and those are always gonna
It's
happen.
like panic. It's like a little bit of chaos, and I feel like
Yeah.
having this be like a solid tool will kind of mitigate that. a
Mitigate
little
that, yeah.
bit.
And if we do have to add something, because God forbid, knock on wood, that there's a
Things might-
a catastrophic failure on
Yeah.
something and we have to replace it now, then, we can do the buy it now, do a warrant article, plan for the 7-year lease, and, we own it out right after the 7 years kind of thing. But it won't be as huge of an issue because we've planned for everything else.
Right.
So,
And what about like, I've heard that, you know, we save, and maybe this is just like a historical thing, like we save, we put the money in, and then we do have something that comes up and then that money is used for something else. Is that?
That can happen, depending on the priorities, which is why the other thing that we would like to see is prioritization of these items. Is it really important to replace the chipper, which is just the first thing on the list, that's why I'm picking on it. Is it really important to replace the chipper this year? Or can that be pushed to 2028 kind of thing? And that way, it allows us to still save a little bit of money so that when 2028 comes, it's not $90,000 that we're gonna take a hit with because we've already saved $10,000 each year for it or whatever. But knowing what the priority on these are, you know, is it a 1 through 4 kind of thing, would help from a longevity standpoint and from a planning perspective as to, ooh, this one's coming up fairly quickly. We might need to up this by an additional $10,000 a year to be able to accommodate getting this in 2029 because it's a high priority to replace it. So, yeah, I would like to see prioritization of all these things.
So that is in this third section. If you look at page 1, the third section. There's an iWork rating, which is the software that
Oh, right here?
that the teams use to
Right here.
Oh, okay.
track our fleet. Then the next one is priority, which is a manual input from the department head.
Okay.
Is to, you know, like Sharon said, a prioritization of what needs to be replaced, and then the year they want to replace it.
That's great. Yeah.
So the first section is, you know, the department, the type of expense, donations, equipment fund, the status, is it just an annual hit, is it a piece of equipment that's in use? And then a description of it, like 2019 International CV 515 dump truck, in parentheses lemon, cause it's been a lemon for us, and it's truck number 3. So the next section is kind of more detail about primarily the vehicles, the license plate, the mileage, engine hours, parts and repairs for the past 2 years. So this says 2023 and 2024, which will bring me to another point in a second. Don't let me forget that point. The year it was purchased, or for funds the year they were created. And then, so that's kind of here's what we're looking at. Then the next part is kind of that planning, that iWork rating, because the software produces a priority number
Yeah.
as to what it thinks you've run through this amount of money. And I think Dave Swift, who manages that, said it does have like a red, yellow, green
Yes.
on prioritizing it. And then, like I said, the priority is the manual input from the department heads, the year they want to replace it, estimated purchase price before any trade-in or financing or ETF. Then the next column is expected encumbrances and capital reserve. So either trade-in value, or ETF that we plan on, how much we plan on drawing from an ETF. Or in the case of the Peterbilt, I think it's the 2005 that we're replacing, the capital, so we put the $250,000 from grant. Does that make
Way
sense?
down here.
So whichever, I haven't put it in yet,
Yeah.
but that's where I would put it. I would put in expected encumbrance and capital reserve. I would put in the $250,000 capital source grant.
I would also then, because this also says expected encumbrance and capital reserve,
Yeah,
I would, it says capital source maybe in the next one, put
Yeah.
in grant?
yep, exactly.
Yeah, okay.
And then the interest rate if financed, and then the total cost with interest, and then how are we gonna fund it? Do we need a warrant article, or is it just built into the budget? So there's some items, and then we had used ARPA funds for things as well. So that's kind of the gist, so that's that, and then.
So you have it, it's not like we have to rewrite necessarily
Oh, no.
everything if we just have this as a form, or I don't know if you guys already
Yep.
use.
That's what I give to or that's what Linda gives to the department heads to fill that out.
Okay.
And then the next part is,
And the nice thing is with it being in an Excel spreadsheet, we can sort it any way that we want. to, so that, if we're looking for, okay, what's everything that we're gonna get a grant for this year, then, or, over the next couple of years, then we can sort by that column, the capital source, and find those things fairly easily. But it's not, it's only a page and a quarter long or a page and a half long, so, other bigger towns probably have 10 pages of this, so.
Luckily, we don't.
Right, no, we don't.
So the next page, again, is just the first section is just relisting the department type of expense, the status, annual, in use, and then the equipment project ETF. So the previous balance is only for the ETFs. It kind of shows what the last balance was, I think, as of either of town meeting or end of budget year. I'll have to check that. And then how much, so this is where you'll see, like for the 2021 International CV-15 dump truck number 10, you will slide over, and see in 2024, the lease amount was $18,968, and that we have that lease through 2027. So that's where you kind of see the the year after year payments versus the one-time hit of being on the warrant this year.
Okay.
So I feel like I have to delineate those in a better way.
And I feel like maybe more explanation around it for people to understand. I mean, I know it's not like too hard to understand that we're financing something, but I think that when it comes to warrant and it's like you hear that huge number, that
Right.
it's like, oh my goodness, how
Well,
are we gonna
and
do that? But
So there are some RSAs that dictate how you word a warrant article. The wording has to be approved, so we don't always have the flexibility to put it in there the way that you want, especially
Okay.
when you're talking about warrant articles for equipment and purchases and things of that nature. Because what I would like to see is the warrant article always says I need I'm going to make up a number. I need $250,000 to buy a truck.
okay.
The lease on it will cost us, say, I'm gonna again make it a 7-year lease. It's gonna cost us $70,000 a year, including the interest and stuff. What it doesn't tell you is at the end of that 7 years, the truck is no longer $250,000. It's 7 years at $25,000. So
Yeah.
now it's it's almost a $300,000 truck or $400,000 truck. I'd like to see that total number be able to be put into the comments or something after the warrant article, the formal wording, so that the taxpayer understands what the full repercussion to their tax bill is going to be on a year-to-year basis. So, I think it's important to
That's
tell.
clarity, that's.
Yeah, it's transparency to a certain extent. It's like, yes, we're buying a $250,000 truck, but like your car at home, when you buy it and you finance it through the dealer or GMAC or anybody else, it's actually going to cost you this much. When you buy your house, your mortgage is not for the list price of the house or what you bought the house. It's for that plus all the interest.
Right.
And so at the end of your 20-year mortgage, you've doubled the cost of your house.
So maybe we could have a public
comment sheet.
a comment sheet, or have a couple public hearings. I know they're all open, anybody can come
Yeah.
anytime, but specifically to explain what they are.
And-
Or I don't
and
know
we
if that goes.
Do that in the ABC meetings.
Okay.
When we're looking at and reviewing the warrant articles, we discuss, okay, so the total cost before the ABC will vote on the warrant articles, yay or nay, whether we recommend approval or recommend disapproval, we will look at the total cost to the taxpayer and say, is this in line? Do we think this is in line? If we're financing something at 12%, is this something that we really want to do as taxpayers? Is there some other method for getting this? And that was part of the whole discussion with the went right out of my head.
The grader.
The grader,
Yeah.
thank
Yeah.
you.
I think
Yeah,
that's
that
the
was
other
part of
big
the
one
whole
that I-
discussion with the grader
Mental
was,
blocks on the grader.
yeah, apparently, like, move that out of my hard drive. Was discussing, like, is this the best process? Is this the best method? Is there more information that needs to be needs to be learned and understood before we make this decision. Are we kind of putting the cart before the horse to make this decision because we feel like we don't have enough time, kind of thing? So doing this, again, will then allow us to have that information and move forward in a methodical and transparent manner. Anybody would be able to pull this from the town website, take a look at it and say, what do you mean they're gonna buy a whatever? It's like, oh, no, look at it, we're getting a grant for that. I would love to see more grants be pursued.
Yeah.
Love to see more grants be pursued. And I think that that's probably gonna happen, hopefully, as we learn about more and more different grants that are accessible to us, so.
Yeah, it's almost like we could tack on what we're hoping to put into the trust fund to save for it with it. I mean, I'm sure it has to be worded differently, but like, okay, so this is gonna die out in X amount of years.
Right.
To save up for that so that we can buy it cash next time.
Right.
Like, that's very important.
Yeah,
We
because
should
it
be
saves the
buying-
town 6.3, anything, anywhere from 4 to 6% at the moment.
Yeah.
And, when you're talking about numbers as large as 250,000, or for the greater it was 300 and something, or 400 something $1,000, 4 to 6% makes a difference. It does make a difference, so.
Yeah,
It's
so if
money we keep to use on something else.
Now, if you look at Article 3 from 2024, to see if the town will vote to ratify a 7-year lease agreement entered into by the selectmen in the amount of $377,500 for the purpose of leasing the grader, and then $6,700 for the first year for 7 years.
67,000.
So it said $377,500. However, when you look at the CIP for that item number, which is not quite halfway down the page, it's the 2024 Cat 140 grader, 7-year lease. So the original cost was $460,000. We had the $32,500 trade-in, but the interest rate, so the rest that was financed, was at 5.99%. So the total cost with interest was actually 400. I feel like that's low, though. I feel like
it was closer to 500,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it says 377, but really it was
473. If you go by this number, it's 473, but it was closer to $500,000. I think it was like 489.
because then
or something
it
like
was
that.
the total interest was like $99,000 in interest on it.
Yeah, it was almost $100,000.
Oh, it's at 4. I see.
So anyway, so yeah, we want to plan better, and yeah, this was kind of, I think, a next step for that, was taking a department and then looking at what funds do they have, which kind of brings me back to a thought I had earlier, is sometimes we use, I believe, like the highway heavy equipment ETF for repairs versus saving for the next purchase.
And I think that that's where we need to take a look at the original warrant article that established those ETFs, for each one of the ETFs. Because that language will tell you what it can and cannot be used for. And so going back and taking a look at the language, because if it says repair and or replace, then you can use the ETF to do that. If it just says to build up a revenue stream for replacement of equipment, then you can't really use it to repair an existing piece of equipment. So knowing that, and each one is worded
Parameters are important.
very important, because you don't want to be using money the way it's not, the way that, using it in a way that it was not originally intended and that the taxpayers didn't approve. If you want to make a change to it, you gotta go back to the taxpayers in March and ask them for the approval to do that, and ask them to either update the wording to the warrant article and change it to allow for that repair and or replace kind of language, or not.
Could it be 2 different funds? Could it be put into 2 different funds at the beginning to
Sure, you
kind
could
of-
create a repair one and a replacement one.
I want
know
to
it's
say,
not as flexible, but then it would help to say this, maintaining it is important, but also saving for the future costs is important.
Right, but I don't wanna say personally, I believe that those repair costs you should be looking at the 5-year history of the repair costs for the pieces of equipment that you currently have in inventory and being able to plan, like, unless something catastrophic happens, we're probably gonna need about $20,000 to repair equipment. We know that we have to do oil changes and maybe tire rotations, and I'm talking about now like the police cruiser fleet. You need, transmission fluids, you need those every 20,000 mile checkup kind of thing. I should be able to plan for that. If there's the air filter goes or the water pump goes, that's something somewhat different. But for normal repairs, that should be in the operating budget, because it's a yearly kind of thing. And so I don't know that a repair line or a repair fund, if you will, would necessarily need to be established, because
Okay. That's like the daily operating cost of having that
in my
equipment.
opinion, and I do recognize that there are catastrophic things that happen, that all of a sudden, your engine blows or the transmission goes or something. Those things happen, but you hope that with the other regular maintenance, somebody's able to say to you, things are wearing out in here. This one may not make it another year. But you've already known that because you've reached the sort of the limits of its life and you're planning for replacement. So, and then none of this is easy. The discussion then becomes, well, is it worth it to repair it so that if we can get it another 2 years, so then we replace it, or is it worth it just to do the replacement 2 years early? Which one, from a cost benefit analysis standpoint, which one makes more sense? And that's where
the ABC.
Not necessarily those are the questions the ABC will ask, but that's the department head. The department head needs to be doing that type of strategic planning, and then for the long term. But then as these situations come up, they need to plead their case, if you will. They need to explain to the selectmen why it's important to spend that money now, as opposed to, we're just gonna kind of park it for the next year. We'll use it a little bit because we can get some functionality out of it. But it was due for replacement in 2 years anyway, let's just do it. We'll do it then. Right? Or, no, we can't operate without this piece of equipment. It's a must-have. It's a number one priority. So we were planning to replace it in 2 years, but we need to replace it now, in this next year. And it's, by the way, it is down hard, sitting in the lot, and we can't even get it to turn over, kind of thing. And it'll cost us $150,000 to repair it, whereas it's only $250,000 to buy a brand new one.
So yeah, it is a budget line under highways DPW for vehicle repair.
Yes.
$50,000 is what they set aside. I wanna say they did up that, I wanna say
I
last
think
year it was
they
like
did up it,
25
yeah.
or something.
And that's their operating budget.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for explaining that. It's just, I'm like trying to wrap my head around all of the different ways that we can save, and then kind of that, like maintenance of vehicles, maintenance of infrastructure, and those repairs versus putting or allocating monies towards something new. I feel like it's kind of like this battle. And then anything that's new, we're saying, our fiscal capacity is max. Like, we have to just maintain what we have. But if we're planning, for all of these maintenance expenditures and the fact that we're going to need new vehicles and what that rollover is and everything, then maybe we can take some of that planning a step further and say, okay, so the community does want this, X, Y, Z. How do we put that in there? Or no, we can't put that in there,
Right.
But if we don't ask and we don't get this together, then we're really not gonna be able to do anything
No.
else for the future. It's like,
Then
okay, no, it's all going to
Right,
this.
you're flying by the seat of your pants and you're operating on a year-to-year basis, which is not a good way to run a municipality. It's not a good way to run a company,
No.
to just say, the costs are what the costs are. Well, no, you need to do some planning so that you're not always in a crisis mode. So,
Yeah.
and
Like,
that's the
flip
goal.
script.
The goal of this is to get us out of crisis mode, where we have to replace something this year, and get us planning further down the line for obsolescence, basically.
And that's a lot of buy-in. That takes a lot of boards, department heads,
Yes.
and citizens to get that all working together.
Right, and it does take the department heads sitting down and taking a very critical look, and we're hoping, they purchased this iWorks program to help them do that for all the equipment across the entire town. The DPW primarily wanted it, but it applies to the fire department, it applies to the police department. All the vehicles and equipment can go into iWorks, and that's supposed to help them based on how many miles it's used each year, how many hours it's used each year, was it new or used when we bought it, because we do buy used equipment. Was it new or used when we bought it? What's the expected lifespan from the manufacturer versus what we're seeing as a town and how much we use it? You know, maybe the expected life expectancy from the manufacturer is based on using it 5,000 hours a year, and we only use it 2,000 hours a year. So, and we might get a longer life out of
Edit
it.
that in there,
That all goes into
director would
iWorks.
fill that, okay.
Yeah. So there's an encumbrance on the department heads to really look critically at their equipment and really look long-term for what are the needs, because maybe there's a need that they feel is coming up that doesn't exist today, but they can see in the long run, maybe they believe that in 7 years, I'm gonna make something up, all the culverts in the town are gonna need rework. Well, you might wanna plan for having some of that. So whatever the equipment is, that's gonna help you do that. Or do we rent it? Because it's a one-time use, right? And if we rent it, then that's just a one-time operating budget expense for equipment contracts or rental stuff, so. All right, so now you have kind of a working knowledge of what's currently in the CIP, what this is, what the other spreadsheet that Joy provided.
So we say that we've stopped doing our CIP, but really haven't. You've been working on it very hard and diligently this entire time. It's just
Well, I think we
expanding it.
revived it, really. I mean, it did die for several years. It
died.
just got
Was the
revived a
last
couple
one
years ago.
08.
Yeah.
I saw like a printed
Well,
And-
08.
I had one, Ned Rogerson handed me one in 2023.
But that was one he had been doing, and the
Yes.
ABC had been looking at it. It hadn't been a formal
Used by
planning
the
board
department, too.
document, because originally, again, that the planning board was responsible for doing this, and I think it just became so cumbersome, and they had so many other things on their plate that I think it just fell off the wayside, just,
Like the master plan.
yeah, kind of just fell away. And there was nobody screaming for it until the ABC started saying, well, wait a minute, we could do a better job of budgeting for the town if we had this CIP updated. And that's when Ned, I believe, started to pick it up and started to work with it and started to discuss it with the ABC. And for a number of years, I mean, for as long as I've been on the ABC was running it. And then we looked at it and said, but wait a minute, this isn't ours. We're using this, we're doing this, we're pulling information and getting the information, but this isn't ours. We need a formal process, and this needs to take some priority and take some importance. And if the planning board doesn't want it, and the board of selectmen didn't want it, then how else do we get this accomplished? Right? The ABC can take it, but it's not an ABC document, it's a town document. And so that's when the warrant article was proposed to create a CIP committee so that there were representatives. Because before that, it was Joe and I, right? It was the ABC doing it. We need other people's input. We need the planning board's input. We need the selectmen's input. We need, town hall's input and verification of this. So that's kind of the genesis of where this all happened and how we got to a warrant article in 2025, so that now this takes on a more formal approach than the ad hoc approach that we were using. So, I mean, it was getting the job done for the most part, but it wasn't established in a process, so now it is.
All right. And then the way I changed the format too is that you can see kind of on older versions, it had, like, it had headers for each department, and I basically just made it into a, kind of like a database, so that I can run pivot tables off it, because I love me a good pivot table. Yeah, so that's what it was as of 2023, and you can see, like, you know, the department numbers were, the vehicles were numbered, so I can do that.
Yeah, we need to put numbers back on the lines.
Yeah, so then, you know, it had Conservation Commission, and then, I don't know, oh, it had the dust control salt under Conservation Commission, because that was the brine truck.
The
But anyway.
brine truck, yeah.
So you can see I just put it all in one line, as opposed to having those separate things, and it's also a lot longer now, because we added lots of stuff.
But the benefit of it being one long line in this with the department delineated out is you can, like she said, create a pivot table. If you wanna just see just the DPW stuff or the Conservation
That's a
Commission
pivot
stuff.
table.
Yeah, you
The
can
10-year
just
plan is a
pull
pivot
it.
table. This is a pivot table.
Right.
I'll
You're
pull from that.
probably gonna be, if you're not familiar with pivot tables
I
with
love them.
Excel,
I
you're
don't
probably
like
gonna
to
learn.
do them,
You're
but
missing
I,
out.
I understand that you can pull the data.
Right, or you can
That's
just
great.
ask Joy.
Yeah.
I love me a good pivot table. Alright.
They're useful, they're very useful.
So one thing I wanna delineate, like I said, is, so, kind of taking notes as we go. A way to delineate between what hits in a single year versus what is a payment over time. Because what hits in a single year, you know, folks look at our budget is, you know, whatever. So approved in 2024 for the operating budget alone, I guess, was 1.7 million. And then 2025, it went up to 1.8 million, because I feel like, so that's the budget, but then I feel like we do a total number somewhere that includes the, here it is. So that kind of looks at all the warrant articles, which includes the budget, the PTFs, the charities, everything. So that was 4.3 million total. And it was, it's like a 12% increase, does that sound right?
Yes,
Yeah. So that's massive.
And then what is, so the selectmen used 550,000 for unassigned?
Yes.
So that's just a fund that the town has.
so we have an unassigned fund balance, which the state requires us to have.
Okay.
Because that allows then for some unexpected types of expenses, like when we had the big road washout on Colby Hill Road. They used money from the unassigned fund balance in order to pay for the repairs of that, submit to the department submit to FEMA for reimbursement to it, but we needed the money up front to pay for those repairs. The unassigned fund balance also is basically what it amounts to is at the end of the year, if we proposed a $4.3 million budget and we only spent 4.1 million, that other 0.2 million goes into the unassigned fund balance, and it can be used then, the Board of Selectmen vote on it, but it can be used then to pay down the taxes for the next year. So if the next year we needed 4.3 million again for 2 million in an unassigned fund balance, they can use 0.1 million if they wanted to, or 0.2 million, whatever they, I don't know, you know, depending on what the fund balance is. They can use that to say, okay, taxpayers will not have to foot the bill for the entire 4.3, because they've already foot the bill for part of that. And so now what'll get charged on their tax bill this year is just gonna be 4.1 million, or, you know. So they can use that unassigned fund balance to pay down the tax burden on the homeowners for the next year.
Okay.
But they have to vote to do that. They're statutorily, I believe, required to keep, I think it's like 3% in that fund balance for, you know,
Like an emergency or something.
for
Okay.
emergencies and, yeah.
Which is what happened when we had road emergencies for
Right.
$400,000 we had to pull from it. Was it Modakill?
Modoc and
Oh,
Colby Hill
Colby Hill
and, yeah,
and-
when we had
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
back-to-back storms, you know, like every 2 months we were having a storm that was washing out the road.
Yeah.
And with Modoc Hill, they had, because they were working to get, I mean, long explanation, just so you know, they were working to get estimates for how to repair it and from engineers, like how best do we repair this road? Is it better to put a bridge in? Is it better to put culverts and stuff over it? Which way? And getting cost estimates. We got hit with another storm in the middle of that, and so it caused more damage. And so they had to go back to FEMA and explain to FEMA why we didn't repair it the first time. And then, boom, this second storm came and hit us in the meantime. So it caused significantly more damage than was originally estimated. So,
Now they have a nice big culvert in there and
yeah,
it's looking good.
yeah. Hopefully, 100-year storm worth of stuff in there.
Okay. So we keep some in it, we're allowed to vote on it and take
Right.
some out if needed.
Right. So there's usually
okay.
a public hearing that addresses that number and what the plan is. If something like Modoc Hill and Colby Hill comes up, there's a public hearing to discuss how much of it, and then there's a vote. The selectmen have to vote.
Okay.
The town does not, right? The town does not have to vote on the unassigned fund balance.
No, that's,
It's a town vote.
hi.
Hi.
Hi, you have a meeting or something, do you want me to? I just had a question.
About,
You're on camera, by the way, we are
Yeah.
recording a
Oh,
meeting.
okay.
This is a meeting of the Capital Improvement Committee. If you are,
Me at the police department.
you're
Oh, you need the
Chief,
police.
Chief.
you can knock on the door, but I think Chief went out a little while ago, and I don't think
Okay.
there's anyone in there.
He
Okay,
had a meeting that he had to go
Go
to.
to.
thank you.
You're
Okay.
welcome.
I just rang the bell.
She said you went out.
Yeah, okay. There's a phone number on there, we'll call back.
There is a non-emergency number that you can call. It's on the website too.
Yeah, okay.
I think it's on the
thank
front door.
Oh, good, that's helpful.
you. I can't hear anything.
Okay, what's next?
Okay, so, yes.
All right, so maybe it's decision-making time as to what we should be putting in here?
A discussion of what constitutes a capital improvement plan
Yeah.
item.
Yeah, I'll just run through the rest of it real quick, just, because we did have DPW, obvious, fire department, obviously. We do have a general government section that's mostly funds, but it does include projects. So there is an assessing ETF, where we have to pay our assessors, I forget how much per year, but there's like a
It's
big
like
hit.
$26,000 to $30,000 a year, I think, for the 5 years, because it comes out.
Okay, yeah,
Because it
because
comes out
it
to
hits
about like
about
200.
100,000.
No, it's more than that. So it's like 150 to 180,000, I think. For
I thought we only paid him like 109,000.
it should be in the. It should be in the drawdown.
Oh,
It should be in the drawdown what the total is and
all right. All right,
Is that
But-
because we were having assessing done
the
this?
Yes.
5-year assessment. Yeah.
all right, I don't wanna get buried that in there. So there's a general government buildings computer ETF where they haven't added to that, I think, in a while. But that's obviously, because computers can be expensive, especially ones to do all the accounting that needs to be done upstairs. The Silver Lake Dam Improvement ETF, that's discussion whether or not that's gonna be fixed, paid for with a bond, that's a big
It's a
that's like a $2 million
million,
project,
yeah.
but some folks are kind of looking into, does it really need to be 2 million? The Historical Society has a building ETF that they added, it's only created a couple of years ago, they had like 10,000 to help, do repairs to the building. But almost, the major overhaul that was done this summer was almost all volunteer work,
Yeah, they were
so that was
busy.
incredible. Then there's the STR Legal Expense ETF.
Which, I don't, where would you put, I guess that the purchase number before trade or financing or whatever, because it was $70,000 that was approved. It was 2023 warrant.
Which one are you looking at?
The STR legal expense,
Yeah,
there's no number in there, but
Yeah.
it was $70,000.
80, I wanna say.
Or, was it 80?
So, it was 70?
70, I think.
I thought it
Okay.
was 70.
Alright, so yeah, I
But,
should.
I mean, we can put a placeholder in there for the 70 till we check.
Yeah, I think previous balance or something, yeah, I forget. I think I was using the previous balance column starting on page 3 to kind of put in. Alright, I'll have to figure out where to put that. Then we have the Veterans Monument Fund. Silver Lake Watershed Management Study is that $100,000. So then projects like we were talking about, that the Silver Lake Dam repairs need to be done. And so that purchase dollar amount is $2 million before bond or anything like that.
But we don't, oh, no, we do have some in the ETF.
Yes.
Okay,
So there is 165,000 in an ETF.
so that could go to like a study or something like that to,
Well, again, we have to go back to the language to see why it was created,
yes.
because this says Silver Lake Dam improvement.
okay.
So a study might not be considered an improvement, the study would come before the improvement, so we would need to raise money for the study and then look at what improvements the study recommends and potentially use that 165 as part or all of the improvements. But
Okay.
the Silver Lake Watershed Management Study, that was done, and then the Silver Lake Dam repairs, the study was $100,000.
And that was a grant,
That was
right?
done by a grant, and then the repairs could ostensibly come out of that Silver Lake Dam Improvement ETF part of it, but there's only $165,000 in there. And what is currently being talked about and discussed is a $2 million tab for the repairs.
So then you see the projects like the town hall front porch, the meeting room entrance porch, heating system, which I think we
It got
had to have
replaced,
an
didn't it?
emergency replacement on it.
replacement.
Yes, we didn't have money saved up for that necessarily, that was an emergency. Town hall sign on Village Road, town hall vinyl siding, pavilion construction, and there is a pavilion account. I thought I printed that one out, I do have a page of the, funding accounts, looks like I didn't print it. And then the library has some projects, making library doors,
And they got a
ADA
grant for
compliant.
that.
And they actually, if I look at the town meeting minutes, which are on the website, so they would receive, the cost was $18,000, they'd received a $5,000 grant, and Sloan Jarrell, our head librarian, announced at town meeting that she received another grant.
Right, I
But
thought
I
it was like
believe-
another $10,000 or
Yeah,
something.
so it covered nearly all of it,
Right,
so that was great. And then they need to replace the roof over the children's section, and so that needs to be funded, so she's keeping an eye on that. And then there's your master plan. I don't have it in here, but that was $100,000 approved, right?
For a master plan, 25.
Oh, only 25,000. Do I have that in there? Do
Yes.
I?
Yes, you have the 25 in there that was approved, but I think we're gonna need to come back if we decide to do anything else with it, but we'll see what the planning board
Oh, yeah,
says.
yeah, there it is. So that's under 2025. So anyway, and then,
And then the cruisers.
yeah, and then the police equipment.
and that's
So-
everybody, right? That covers everybody,
That we have included plus some more.
yeah.
But, Tia and I had talked at one point unofficially, just kind of about like where she's working on the master plan committee and kind of what they're looking to include in that. And it sounds like they're including, like reaching out to more of the community, like kind of looking at the church, which isn't necessarily part of the town budget, but it's part of our overall master plan. So we're just kind of made me think, like, are there things, and I think you had the same thought, that are there other town things that we haven't considered in the capital improvement plan? I would say, like, the church is definitely a separate entity and would not be in the capital improvement plan. But are there other town projects that, you know, you're coming across, that folks are coming to, that they wanna have built in the master plan? For example, anything to do with Burke Field that taxpayers would be asked to fund would go on here, like we're talking about the lights for the ball field. Cause there was a 2014-ish, 2013, 2014, when Bruce Brooks passed, in the annual town report, in the in memoriam section, it acknowledged that, and that they wanted to start a ball field, an account to put lights in at Burke Field. So that was 10 years ago, and there was a request that donations could be made and mailed to a private address.
Ooh, that's
I-
not good.
Well, I don't know if it was meant to be like a personal project, and then funds would be donated to the town, like it's unclear what's happened in the past 10 years. So I asked family members if they knew when they were gonna kind of check into it. But now that project is kind of moving forward a little bit, and they're, well, what day is it, where somebody's meeting selectmen at the ball field, to an electrician to kind of give their estimate as to how much it would cost. And then we're kind of, does that come out of the ball field ETF? If the fields themselves have been sufficiently repaired.
So this doesn't show a ball field ETF on here,
does it?
does it?
I think it does under rec.
I think there was something, I feel like that.
Where's rec? I had a rec.
Right, I was gonna say, I don't see rec on here at all.
Yes, there it is.
Parks
It's
and
under
Rec.
DPW Parks and Rec.
On
So
page
halfway
3.
down
Oh,
low.
see, yeah. Okay, maybe we just make that Parks and Rec, comma,
Well, I was going
DPW
off
so
of
that
how
it-
it's referenced in the,
yeah, but I
budget
mean,
and
for,
other things.
to be able to visually see it
Yeah.
and, cause it's always gonna get, right now, it's always gonna get caught up in DPW, but if
Yeah.
you want Parks and Rec separate, to see what that is, then,
I feel like their Parks and Rec is different.
it is
but-
different than kind of the
Than-
rec.
right,
But I guess could it be considered maintenance, is that, or
Well,
like
that's
they
what
do the maintenance, they
they-
put that in?
So, yeah, I think it does fall under DPW
it,
because,
it
yeah,
does,
yeah.
for some of the maintenance, cause like
Yeah.
some of the stuff like putting in the floats and stuff at Silver Lake, putting in the
Yeah.
diving raft, that kind of stuff, all falls under DPW.
Parks and Rec.
But Parks and Rec itself, for other things, should have, it should be reversed, should
But I
say
think-
Parks and Rec.
But this, so the ball field ETF, when it was created or merged with the other ETF that was from years ago, they were very adamant that that was not Town of Madison Recreation. That was not under the Recreation Department, the Recreation Committee, that the ball field was very not the same, not very delineated from that. They
Okay.
were very adamant at the time.
Very, I get that, but
Yeah.
then whose is it, DPW's?
Because they maintain the ball fields.
So the ball field ETF is under their responsibility. So
Well,
again,
it's selectmen,
we
Yeah.
need to go back and look at the wording for what established that ETF to see, okay, this is what what the voters said they're responsible for. Anything outside of that wording is gonna be on Parks and Rec.
yeah. It was 2024 one.
But I guess if we wanted to ask for like citizen input or different boards, or I don't know if rec is technically a board, or committees.
It's a committee and a department.
Okay, it's both. Yeah,
It's
so
both.
we have like these quasi, they kind of cover like the historical society of their own thing,
They're
but
independent.
they might lead on
It's a
taxpayer
town-owned
funds
building.
or- Okay,
So they're an independent nonprofit, but it's a town-owned building.
okay.
And kind of similar with the library, where it is a town-owned building, but there's a nonprofit called the Friends of Madison Library who raise money for the library.
And they're the board of directors.
Nope, they have a separate, I wanna say it's a separate,
Trustees, I think.
yeah,
Library
trustees of the library,
The trustees, yeah.
yeah.
So maybe incorporating some of those things, because I feel like that's how the master plan can help this. And my outreach, or our committee outreach, is not this detailed at all. It's not like this.
Nor should it be.
It's more like we're doing the outreach, we have people from these different committees and boards on the steering committee. They're reaching out to their group or their department and asking for their feedback and where they envision the town going in the next 10 years. So I think that it applies, so that might be some of the more, like, the new things, the new projects might come out of that
That.
vision. Yeah, and it's our job to ask what our neighbors want and what we can do to make that vision happen.
Right, and
that's what
that was what the survey was about,
Yeah.
that one right there.
Yeah, take the survey.
I did,
Yeah.
I did, yeah.
Yeah, so that's where this all kinds of intersects, and I didn't wanna double up on anything, but I feel like that will give us some future projects, new projects.
Right, and
This
that
is
should
what's
help
going
feed
on.
this, and this is
Yeah.
what's going on now and projected to go on from a tangible standpoint, like we know we're gonna need to replace this piece of equipment.
Yeah.
So things in the future, like building a pavilion or creating a larger rec space or a community center of some sort, those can be things that get added under general government or wherever later on, as not only is the master plan then completed, the master plan is then accepted and voted on by the, if that's how it works, voted on
Yeah.
by the townsfolk, like, yeah, I do wanna start to put money aside to build a community center that, you know, houses, that community center houses a new library, a bigger, better version of the library, and or, you know, meeting space, bigger meeting space, better meeting space, and or function space, you know, like if we wanna have if you wanna have, and it has a stage or something to it kind of thing. If you wanna build a bigger, better bottle, so to speak.
So there are two, speaking of rec, I learned that rec is actually developing their own CIP,
Which is good.
which I imagine is not even gonna have a $5,000 threshold because the rec budget is only like $38,000, that their CIP is gonna be more like $1,000 items and up.
But that's good.
That's good.
That's great. It's still a budgeting tool, so.
Yep, Sherry Stackpole is the chair of the rec committee, and she said that they were doing that, so that's kind of
And
awesome.
as does the school. The school
Yeah.
does their own CIP, which I
And-
thought we were gonna have. Oh, we'll have copies of it for the ABC meeting. We didn't have copies of it for this, but
And it
we may
doesn't
wanna
go
reach out.
into
It does
this.
not go into
It's
this
their own.
because the school CIP is used to inform the school budget, and that's voted on separately from
Right.
the operating
And-
budget of the town.
And their budget is not voted on that Saturday, it's voted on that
Tuesday before.
because they are the SB two
They're the
form
SB
of
two
government.
version as
Yeah.
opposed to the other non-SB two that we do. So we have, the town has a mixed, and we had a warrant article to figure out whether or not we wanted it all to be one format. Whether we wanted it all to be SB two, and the town said, no, we kinda like it the way it is. That we vote on Tuesday for those formal items that are SB two required, and then we go to town meeting for all these warrant articles and the operating budget for the town, so that it can be discussed and talked about. It's not just a line item on a ballot where you go yes or no.
Right.
So there's advantages and
cons.
The
disadvantages to
details.
both, yeah, I mean, I'll just say there's advantages and disadvantages to both, but, yeah. And I don't know if you went to town meeting, but George Epstein, the moderator, did a fairly good job of explaining the differences between them and some of the pros and cons, and the fact that most town moderators across the entire state don't like the non-SB two format.
Don't like the town meeting format?
Yeah, they don't like the town meeting format.
Oh, I
The
thought he
moder-
did great.
It's-
The moderator doesn't.
He does great, but I think that they would prefer that all of the towns went to an actual ballot vote.
Does the moderator do that, like, SB two budget hearing? Like, does he moderate that, or
Yeah,
is that just
yeah.
kind of the chair of the school board does that? I can't remember. Does George moderate that?
Does George moderate the school board
That
discussion?
Well, because the SB two, they basically have like the public hearing.
Yes, before. He does
Before the
not
vote,
moderate
and
it.
everybody
Jim Curran
hashes
does
it out on, they kind of have like the town meeting sort of, but just like before the vote.
Right,
And everybody asks all their questions and they debate and whatever, and then it goes to the secret ballot, I guess, so to speak, on the Tuesday election.
right, and
But
I
does
think,
George moderate that meeting?
no, I don't believe so.
Okay.
I believe that,
He'd be out of a
that-
job if we went SB two then.
I don't think that would,
Bother him.
yeah, I don't think that would cause him any consternation whatsoever. He's been town moderator for so long.
Long time.
Very long time,
Yeah.
probably 20-something years, I think, right?
Yeah, it's been a long
But
time. But he's really
but
good
yeah.
at it.
No, and I think that that's, during that public meeting is when the school board takes its actual public vote with
sounds about
regard
right.
to, the school's budget. And the ABC then, when we have our public meeting, that's when the ABC takes its vote for the school board.
Okay. And you give feedback on
Yes,
that as well,
yes.
like why is there questions?
Right, right.
So another prong layer of the CIP is the road CIP.
Oh, right.
Oh, yeah.
So that is, Why'd you put your head in your
This,
hands?
I know, put my
Sharon
hands
has
on
a
it.
copy of that probably. Doug, you've seen it, right? Have you seen Captain
I've seen
Update?
it,
So-
yeah.
This has not been updated,
Yeah,
not really thoroughly updated. It's been, I don't want to say back of the envelope operated, but, or updated, but it's kind of back of the envelope updated with as much as could be done, without sitting down and going through and doing a real analysis of the roads and what it would require to maintain them over the next, however many years, 10 years, 15 years.
So Joe Dane, God bless him,
Yeah.
because he is a reports guy. He drove around with the DPW and kind of, they did prioritize 6 roads for repair
And you'll see they're in red.
this year.
okay.
They didn't quite line up, I think they updated one, and
Right.
this isn't the updated one.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, so they had Town Line Road, Mooney
Third.
Hill just needed the top coat.
Right.
So they had, this was kind of a prose version, a typed up version of kind of what they were looking at. And then this is the spreadsheet.
This
that
is an
should-
estimate for what it will cost. And, again, I don't know if these are updated cost estimates because the cost of asphalt and everything else changes
Yeah.
fairly quickly. And so being able to plan for this years ahead of time is not always gonna be easy. This is probably a bigger headache for the DPW than even this is, because this changed, as soon as the price of oil changes, the price of asphalt changes, cause that's how it's made.
So what they do though is they did attach, an estimate from a paving company that has, your shim, you're gonna need approximately, 1,535 square yards at 3/4 inch, or 3/4 inch. Then the overlay is the same amount of yards, 1.5 inch, approximately 130 So like they have these kind of things on here. There's the overlay, 1.5 inch and estimated price per square yard. So they do have the ability to put these numbers in here
there.
for each road and to know how many square yards the road is and to know the dimensions and to, you know what I mean? So it's a
So
similar,
they can get an
similar thing.
estimate and
They can get
then
a fairly good estimate, yeah. And
Going
if a
forward.
single price changes on, say, asphalt, they can go in and they can change that number and then it'll update the spreadsheet for them. But
Is this also included in?
no.
Well, kind of,
Okay.
because there is a DPW
Oh,
highway
yeah.
warrant article, so I have it in there again, about halfway down, fund, in use.
Road improvements warrant article.
It's 200, it was 200,000 previously, 2024, they requested an update to 250,000. 2025, they requested an upgrade to 500,000, which was a big jump, but then they kind of deferred one of the roads a year or something, so they brought it back down to 400,000, and that's what was approved. But going forward, they anticipate they're gonna need $500,000 every year to do a section of Madison, to do a couple of roads.
And that's where this road condition prioritization comes into play. So that as you're looking at it, when was the last time that this road was even attended to? And, like Bickford Road, there's really not a lot of improvement they're gonna do to it, cause there's only 4 houses on it, or 3 houses on it. and
Is
2
it
of them-
paved?
No,
So that's not on the road pavement,
but it's not on pavement,
it
but
should be in
there
the
should be a road.
operating budget.
Right, but there should be road improvement, like if
To,
you have to
like,
attend to
grade
the
it or-
cul-de-sacs and grade, yeah, the grading piece of it that happens twice a year is just an operating cost, but if you have to go and manage the culverts, because over time, sediment and everything else has eroded it, and it's gone from this wide to only this wide, they're gonna have to go in and do something about it.
Actual project.
Right, an actual project, or if they're, if something happens and, I've seen pictures of where Bickford Road washed out to about 10 feet deep. And about a 10 feet long section, like right across the road. You could not get from the upper section to the lower section. You had to walk around.
Yeah, so folks have
But that was years
mentioned,
ago.
cause somebody did a study, I don't know if, I forget who it was, but I don't know if it was like one of the watersheds or something, like Ossipee,
Yes.
Green Mountain, somebody
Somebody,
did a culvert evaluation,
Study,
study, and they listed culverts within Madison that should be replaced, and I have that somewhere, because we should be adding
that.
culverts to this
To
as
this
well.
And maybe it gets added to just this, you know, it gets added to this part to show, but then the roll-up
it's-
number gets added in here.
So is this more of a tool for, it's nice that we can see it, but we're not gonna manage this?
Correct.
This would be.
DPW.
DPW.
Right,
Um,
but only from the advisory budget committee will take a look at this to manage and say, okay,
I would hope
to
the select board would
comment on.
too.
Yeah, you would hope that the select board would too.
Okay.
To
And the
comment
planning
and
board,
say,
maybe, I don't know.
because the thing that I wanna know is, well, what constitutes green, yellow, red, and blue? Like, it doesn't say, it just says great, good, moderate, and poor. Well, what delineates poor? You know, cause maybe, there should, again, I'm a numbers type person and I'm all for sort of standardization of stuff, so that, God forbid anything happens to everybody in the DPW and somebody else has to pick this up and work with it, they understand and they're using the same criteria for
They're not
rating
just driving
roads.
down and being like, oh,
Uh,
it's bumpy.
Yeah, that's poor, yeah, no, that's not. What's poor is there are, you know, specific items, specific things, obviously still subject to interpretation a bit, but.
And the DPW would know that they probably have it in their head, but maybe not on paper.
It's not on
Yeah,
paper,
so,
right, and I
okay.
want it, again, because poor Josh Shackford had to pick this up and work with it when it hadn't been touched in probably 5 or 6 years. So
Go back and
he has to figure out,
reevaluate.
right, what did great, what did good, what did moderate and poor mean, and potentially, hopefully created, okay, well, this is what I think that they meant. This is what we're gonna agree based on my discussion with my foreman and my workers. This is what it means, and here's how we're gonna move forward. I'm not 100% sure that happened. I'm not 100% sure that there's that kind of detail to this.
So would that go back to the select board and they would say, okay, we need this, and then,
You would hope that the selectmen would say, this is great, but we want you to put some more detail in here, should you all get wiped out by cholera, you know, that kind of thing.
okay.
'Cause-
So it's definitely a layered,
It's a layered
and
project.
it's really a financial management system for the town. So
Yes.
I mean, it does take on a lot of stakeholders and
Yeah.
just collaboration to make it successful. So hopefully we can help just light a little bit of a fire and like reinvigorate it and get it to where it's an actual like useful tool for the selectmen and the
Right.
budget committee.
And then at some point, all we're doing is looking at it from a committee standpoint, once every quarter, every 6 months, once a year. You know, in September, once a year, as new stuff may need to get added, or some stuff comes off because it's already paid for and it's gone, or whatever.
So they're actually,
Do we have a list of that too?
Stuff that's already gone and off.
Yeah.
what,
From a CIP standpoint, I don't know.
oh, I have a filter on, like status, I have a traded in or
Oh, okay.
decommissioned, whatever. I
But they're
didn't put it
still
on.
in the original spreadsheet.
Yeah, they're in the spreadsheet, but yeah, it's like the old grader, the 87 grader.
It's still in here.
It's still in the spreadsheet, but I just filtered it out as traded in.
So if you ask for the full spreadsheet, which is probably several pages long, then you would see equipment that's been trading it in and no longer in inventory and that
Okay.
kind of thing.
And I do also have a category for non-CIP, cause folks just felt that it wasn't worthy of being on the CIP, and one is a 1999 Pequea trailer. I didn't know whether it was an equipment trailer towing the lawnmowers, and then a 2010 John Deere mower, that we believe was either replaced with the zero turn or is still just kind of lingering out there somewhere. Some folks did not wanna see the new zero turn lawnmower
On here?
Well, if it's a
Cool.
John Deere, it's probably more than $10,000.
Well, it's not, it's a Kawasaki,
Oh.
but it was very close to $5,000. It was like $4,900,
under
I
Parks and
think.
Rec.
Yeah, and it's, 45 and 49. A 2024 Kawasaki 42 zero-turn lawnmower.
So yeah, there it is. So that was not in the budget. We overran that line, I believe.
Mhm.
Or there, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
But if it's not in the budget, oh, they
the
just bought it,
selectmen
they just
shouldn't have
bought it.
approved it.
Oh, okay.
I did not sign off on it because it was in the budget. So we have like purchase requisitions.
It's so close to the $5,000 mark, you can put
But
it
it was
in
already,
there.
the budget was already over.
Oh,
So this
So,
was,
yeah,
this
yeah,
was
if you don't
something that
have it,
came
you
up,
can't spend it.
well, here, and here, right, this was something that came up mid-year, that they wanted to replace, and I don't know all the details, so I may be oversimplifying this, but they wanted to replace that, whatever it was, the one that's non-CIP, in use, where to go, the John Deere, the 2010 John Deere mower, they wanted to replace that. I don't know if that one had broken or was beyond repair or any of those things. I don't know the details of it. All I know is that and I don't know that there was a request before it was bought
For what?
for the lawnmower.
For the zero turn?
Yeah,
Yes, it came
Okay.
through like this. It came through as a purchase
purchase
requisition.
requisition.
Oh,
And what the department head's supposed to do is department line item budget balance as of the last drawdown. So the budget line was Parks and Rec, rafts and docks. This is for a raft. So the amount left in the budget as of the last drawdown was 5,000. The estimate only was 5,421. So we were gonna blow by that, overrun by
$400.
So again, that's good information to have because, all right, that's an estimate, but, you know, we have a welder in the community who fixed that dock. You know what I mean? Like, so we have people in the community who came forward and volunteered and kind of helped preserve that budget line, so. So that's what I, as a selectman, these come across our desks and I have to look at that and see, are we overrunning the budget line? By how much? Do we really need it?
And is it required, do
Yeah.
you really need to overrun a budget line? And the selectmen will tell you, they, to a certain extent, and they should, they manage a bit, not line by line. The budget committee does that, we help them, or try to help them manage line by line, to see like, okay, if you're consistently overrunning this budget line, you've done that 3 years in a row, you need to go back and you need to look at your estimates when you're creating that budget line to account for some of that and make sure, maybe you need to be asking for a larger budget line for that goes into the overall budget. The selectmen at the end of the day are looking at the bottom number. Did we overrun the town budget or did we not?
And there's
We've
always-
not, we haven't in I don't know how many years. I don't know, maybe Doug knows, if we ever have overrun the town budget.
I think-
don't remember.
Yeah, I
Well,
don't think so.
some departments do a
The
$50,000
departments do.
pad,
Yeah,
but that
yeah,
kind of pads the whole budget, and
correct.
I think we would have with the road issues by that $500,000. So we just pulled that out of the unassigned fund balance at the end
Right.
of the year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like everything is happening in a vacuum, you have to look at the entire picture.
Correct. And so if a particular department overruns a particular line by $400, it might not be a big deal. You wanna have a discussion with that department head about anticipating and planning and correctly budgeting, but it's not catastrophic, it's not gonna throw the entire town's budget into chaos,
Okay.
so.
So,
But if everybody does that, then that's when
Then
you guys
there's-
come in, so you guys
right.
work together.
Or
We're
one
trying
half
to,
$1 million line item.
Or a $1.5 million line.
Yeah.
Right.
so the budget in the warrant is broken out into 3 articles. There's an article for the main operating budget. There's an article for the DPW operating budget, which includes the highway, parks and rec, solid waste, the transfer station, and then the administration piece, which is like those phones and the salaries and things. Then there's the emergency services or public safety.
Which is fire and
Ambulance,
police.
fire.
Police.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
It wasn't always like that. That only started to happen probably
Few
about
years ago.
4 years ago maybe.
I
It
can
used to,
never remember whether we allowed to move money from one to the other. We get the answer every time we ask, and it never registers in my brain, never sticks.
right,
Because there's been massive debate is if the, public safety runs over, can we steal from the DPW to cover that kind of thing? There is an answer and it has been answered so many times. and
Every
it
time
does
we
not
have,
stick
every
in my
time we
head.
have a budget. And
Does not stick in my head.
Would it
mine
go
either.
back to the wording?
No, that goes back to the legal guys.
Oh,
That goes
I
back
see,
to the
okay.
town lawyer. And he has rendered, based on the RSA and how the RSA is written and the state's budgeting requirements, those kinds of things. And I believe the answer is yes.
Yes.
The answer is yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So again, I don't understand why we spent all this energy and effort to separate those budgets if it really all comes down to the bottom line. And that's what because again, this makes sense, that's what the selectmen and the chairman of the select board said, we manage to that bottom line. And that bottom line is not bottom line of, DPW, bottom line of emergency services, it's bottom line, right?
I
Maybe
find it
it's-
kind of helpful
Oh,
to
it's-
see
Yeah.
them broken out like that.
Right, but I don't know that there's a reason to have to vote on it like that, unless in some instance you're going to, which you still are free to in the SB or in the non-SB2 section of portion of town meeting, you are free to say, I approve all of it except for this line item, and I think this line item needs to be reduced or increased or whatever it is by X dollars. And here's why, and then that gets discussed and voted on. I think it was in order, the voting for the separate sections was originally, I think, believed that people thought that you then, because Nicole Nordland will tell you, she thought that when they were voting to do it this way, that you could never decrement the emergency services in the town to pay for an overage in the regular operating budget, and then decrease our emergency services, which should be left alone kind of thing, and allowed to operate. But that's not how it works. They can if they needed to. Luckily, they've not needed to. Luckily, we've never, since they went to this format, we've never had the occasion where they said, well, the emergency services guys are under budget by about $150,000, so we're gonna take 75 of that out of their budget and use it. Generally, what they do is they just say, no, we're not gonna take money from any budget line. How we're gonna do this is we're just gonna overrun those other budget lines and manage to that bottom line. So, there's pros and cons to doing it both ways. Well, I mean, you then, if you have to have a budget cut. I mean, I do know 2 years ago, there was a do not spend edict. You cannot spend, remember? Because I know Parks and Rec were told you can't spend.
Yep.
You can't spend money on this.
That's
and that
because at town meeting, it was Ron Forrest proposed, I just say we
Oh,
cut
right.
the budget by $72,000, whatever.
you guys figure out
Everyone,
where to take it
sounds
from.
good, cut it. And then, the Board of Selectmen had to come back, like, okay, now
Where are we gonna
where do
get
we
that
cut
from?
it? And they had to kind of go through and find places to cut it, so that was a bit difficult. It's funny, Ron's
Okay.
opinion of Ron was very divisive that day. People like, yay, and other people, no!
Right. So, well, especially saying cut it without any additional information as to
Yeah.
where you think some of those cuts are gonna come from.
And I wanna say there was either like a town policy put in place or like a warrant article or something, that if you do that again, you have to say where.
Yes.
And everybody has to
Spend
vote
all
on
year
where.
planning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't think
please.
that that's legit. I think that never got voted on, because I don't think
I don't think you
you're
can do that.
required to do that. I don't think you can,
Okay.
yeah, so. Again, if you go back
Elephants
to,
upstairs.
yeah, if you go back and talk to George,
Yeah.
he'll tell you, yeah, no, that's, you can't require people to do that. So,
You do have to just go by line and hash it out like you always do.
the Board of Selectmen,
Well, no, even during town meeting.
you can, yeah.
People get to go, pest control, why are we spending $2,500 on pest control? I think that line should be reduced by, and then don't
If
people
after
kind of vote?
discussion as to why.
Yeah.
There's a discussion as to why is it
Yes.
$2,500 kind of thing, so.
Alright, so in terms
Alright.
of what should be included in the CIP, culverts, we saw, there's a $6,000 budget for culverts. But usually that's a big thing that cost more than, like a
$6
single
grand.
replacement would cost, I think, more than $6,000.
Well, that's where you hope in here somewhere that maybe for next year, there's only a plan to replace one culvert, because they did so many. They did the culverts on Pound Road, they did culverts a couple other places, but, which I really actually need to talk to them about the culvert at the end of Albert Road where it connects with. It's been filled in. It's been completely filled in.
I don't think that was the plan. The last select board meeting, we had folks from Albert Road and we went through, kind of talking about it, and then the DPW was gonna put down like, okay, checklist, here's the things that you need to do to get that road up to where it needs to be. The two, property owners with whom the agreement is to maintain the road, they said, okay, and we'll talk with DPW again.
Yeah, maybe DPW needs to go out and look at that, but it's been filled in completely.
That's good. Okay,
At any rate, we digress.
so culverts, they're in the budget, should they be on the road CIP, the?
My opinion would be to put them on the road CIP,
Yeah. Yeah, probably.
and then use that road CIP as a separate, maybe in here, there's just one that says road CIP, or I guess there
Well,
is
there is.
the road improvement warrant article.
Yeah,
And then maybe in parentheses after that, put, road CIP, so you know where that info's coming from,
yeah,
road CIP.
C road CIP.
And we can just base it off of what you already have.
Right.
I have to find that culverts spreadsheet. I think Noreen Down sent it to me.
Yeah, I know I have it somewhere. It's in my big ABC. It's an electronic folder, but it's in there somewhere.
Alright, so what other types of categories should be in here that,
So are we in agreement though that, that anything that's over $5,000, or do we wanna look at $10,000, something in between, $7,500, something less than $5,000?
let's see.
It's
So,
almost helpful for you on the select board to, what number,
some folks argue that it shouldn't be $5,000, that should be higher than that, should be 10. I like 5 because there are a lot of 5s out there. There's 5s for like the conservation accounts, there's, you know what I mean, like I feel like there's enough 5s out there that they add up, and to me, it's not a pain in the neck to track them.
So the question would be, are you aware of what is the argument against the $5,000?
People just seem very passionate that that's not on the scope of the CIP. I do not understand why. were
They
just
think
very
it's
passionate
too
about it.
small of an item?
No, it's too small of an item, not important.
TMI.
Yeah.
Is there such a thing when it comes to budgeting?
I would think no.
In my opinion, the word capital is very important, and that means a big expense. $5,000 is more of an expense rather than a capital project, but again, IMO.
So,
that's helpful, yeah.
this is helpful. I'm trying to look at what kind of $5,000 items. So we had,
So then the $5,000, if it were that, and technically I guess it shouldn't be, but it was close, was the $4,500
lawnmower.
lawnmower. But because it's a piece of equipment that, I mean, I get that a single computer could run you $5,000 if you got big whiz bang ones. Most of them will probably run around $2,300 or so, but something with, dual monitors and heavy processors might cost you somewhere in the $5,000 range.
I think that's still important though, because if you have to go through and update the entire thing, it's probably more than one.
True.
And to look at the bigger picture for
So-
the lawnmowers, it's like, they may have one lawnmower, but they also may have a smaller tractor, a trailer, and all together, maybe they put it in
It-
as
it
these smaller
Pulls a
equipment.
York rake or,
So-
Yeah, and we
How-
know it's gonna die out, so it's like, okay.
so it's gonna
we
have to be
plan.
replaced.
Yeah.
So,
Agreed.
well, that's a good point too, I think, that
Could they lump it?
if it's something that needs to be replaced sort of on a I don't wanna say a regular basis, but, after 5 or 10 years,
Here's
if there's something you need to plan for its obsolescence. Computers are that way, cameras, so if we had smart boards, you probably would need to plan for smart boards, telephone systems, those kinds of things. I think even though, a telephone is probably not gonna cost you $5,000, but
Smaller infrastructure, but it's still,
it's still a planned obsolescence replacement kind of thing. So, do we make it?
So here's some additional
It's hard.
things to think about. Is that something, one criteria in budget versus, from an ETF?
I don't know what you mean, say that again.
So if we are funding something from the budget, for example, a lawnmower would fall under the Parks and Rec, whatever that budget line was in Parks and Rec, does that need to be on the CIP if they're funding it out of a budget line? That's one criteria to potentially consider, because that came out of the budget, not out of a warrant article or
Right.
ETF. It's one thought. Another thought is they're tracking vehicles in iWork. They list the fleet at the, in the town report every year. So it's the vehicle fleet listed in the town report. And, kind of more for the major stuff, they do have that kind of pros report. So they have other ways of tracking their equipment.
That
Okay.
will feed their budget,
Yes.
will feed their budget and or their capital improvement
Yes.
plan.
So kind of.
But they
the
do, but
argument is
do,
they're
does,
doing it.
they do, and that's, again, that's for equipment. But, I know the police and the fire department are, once DPW is finished getting all their vehicles and everything up to date in there, they were gonna be incorporating the police and fire department equipment in there. I don't know if that's done yet. Joy, maybe you do.
I think they're using it, yeah, I think they're using iWork for.
Well, I know they're
fire
being
police.
charged for it, charged for using it,
Right, no,
because
I
it's in
believe,
their
I believe,
drawdown.
I believe they rolled it out, yeah.
So, if that's the case, and those expenses that are less than whatever, $10,000, $7,500, they're captured in the budget as opposed to the CIP, and that obsolescence plan is in the iWorks program. The iWorks though, it doesn't, see, the iWorks program doesn't allow you, when you buy a $5,000 lawnmower, the iWorks program doesn't allow you to put money aside every year to build a reserve to purchase the new one. Right? That's my consternation with this, is that then all of a sudden, when you need to buy a new one, it'll tell you you need to buy a new one, and you're gonna probably try and put that in your budget. But 10 years from now, a $5,000 lawnmower is gonna be $10,000. So my issue is, using iWorks to allow it to feed your budget doesn't help you with your capital reserve.
So, yeah, but I feel, so, and I'm actually looking at the budget, I don't even see where in the budget, like, the lawnmower would go.
Well, that was one of the questions.
Cause the categories under Parks and Rec DPW are general maintenance, which was $650, lake monitoring for $700, rafts and docks for $5,000, sanitation for $4,700, presumably that's the porta johns at the lakes and the Burkefield and stuff, and then $9,000 for SLAM, the Silver Lake Association of Madison. And I don't see anything in Parks and Rec even for
There-
equipment.
General
Let's not even get
maintenance.
into that discussion at the moment.
Well, okay,
Yeah.
but anyway, just considering in terms of,
Could we put it in maybe, or,
should we put that in here? I mean, it's a piece of equipment, but
Again, is it a piece of equipment that we would plan over time to replace? Or is it just, again, my concern is a $5,000 expense today becomes a $10,000 expense 5 years from now when you have, or 10 years from now, or whatever, 7 years from now. I think most of the time they're using a 7-year planning horizon for equipment and vehicles, because that's usually what the lease is on them, is the 7-year lease. So if you have to plan, or if you think we want the town to be planning, so there isn't a $10,000 spike in DPW's budget line that year, then I think,
and if they're overspending,
and if they're overspending,
we could help
to
them.
purchase it like they did this time because they didn't see it coming necessarily, or it wasn't in their budget, and now they have to find an additional $5,000 to buy this thing. I think then if that's the case, it needs to be in the CIP, so that you can be putting away $1,000 a year for the next 7 years, so that in 7 years you have that $7,000 in that
It's just another piece of equipment or part of their fleet to say,
Right.
so just put it in.
Right. I mean,
That's
hence the, well, except that that's $90,000. The wood chipper is in there.
Yeah.
$90,000 for a wood chipper.
Those, yeah, I think, again, Joe Dame did his research thing and,
Yeah,
found-
I'm not even gonna get into are the numbers valid or not.
Yeah.
I think it just,
Okay,
at this point, I think once we agree on what should go in here, then we can start not questioning, but delving into the numbers to see, does this make sense or not?
all right, so we're talking about putting in equipment, that will require replacement.
Replacement,
The replacement value is likely over $5,000.
yeah.
Equipment whose replacement value will exceed $5,000. Okay,
Projects, do we,
I think projects, let's look at the general government projects, start of page 2, well, actually, bottom of, start of page 2. Projects. So the watershed management study, obviously, $100,000. Dam repairs, $2 million. Town hall front porch,
If it's not in here, where do we get that information? Do we go out and get a quote, or does somebody else?
general government would be either upstairs or DPW, I would think, to get some quotes on how much it would cost to repair the front porch. Or we put it out to the community and wonderful volunteers sometimes, hey, it's a historic building, we wanna make sure it's kept up and looks pretty and is solid and safe. I would imagine that would be a lower priority because nobody goes in and out that door, but.
So, I mean, there are other projects ahead, above that. I mean, DPW Highway has one for a dust control salt shed. The cost of which erecting a dust control salt shed will probably be more than $5,000,
Oh yeah,
I'm sure.
Yep.
And transfer station repaving,
some repaving happened already,
yes.
and I think they might have pulled out of the capital projects ETF.
Where would that
Capital
go?
projects.
Where would that dust control salt shed go?
Back here where they did all the,
Tree
Cutting.
removal.
where they took all the trees out and everything. Yeah,
Okay.
it was-
Well, it's in the charrette too, where they were planning on putting like a salt shed. Do we have one?
Oh, the charrette
Yeah.
too?
Yeah, there's like, I think if you look at the DPW garage, there's like a, it's like, I don't know if it's like a carport almost, but there's some additional, there was going to be an addition to the DPW garage, which was gonna be in, I think, in the direction away from the ball field,
Not where the sand and salt is currently.
I believe so, yeah, I
Heaped.
believe it was.
It's
Yeah, I
over on
hate
this
those,
side.
those are so dangerous.
Those
The
big
kids
piles?
just crawl in them.
Yeah.
I scream at the kids when I'm like, get
Get out of there! Yeah, all you need is for something to let loose and bury
And the kid
them.
gets buried, yeah.
And further down though is the fire department is upgrades to the 1989 rescue truck 7-year lease. I don't know what that even means. And then a building exhaust system. But there's no information for either one of those.
Nope.
In order to get these items with a number on it, it would go to selectmen with you, Joy, and then you go to DPW to ask, or no?
Typically, we've asked Linda to distribute to the department heads.
Okay.
We create a
Um,
list of numbers. I mean, I would,
I give them the spreadsheet.
yeah, just
and
send them the
just-
spreadsheet and say, update this.
Okay.
Where you see holes, please update this.
And I can, again, filter it out and do just the fire department.
And then that would come back to us.
Yeah,
So-
come to us to plug in the numbers.
Or
Okay.
put, just hopefully cut and paste so that you could put it into this original spreadsheet.
So we really want this filled out as soon as possible, right, so that you guys can use it for
Yes.
this season?
Yes, yeah,
Okay, so that would probably be our number one priority, right?
right,
Okay,
so action items.
and then we can move. And then I put a list of different boards and departments that we may want to ask, for updates, but I think that this is way better, Joy, like I think, just going off of this and then deciding if we need anything from these other places, like the Edelweiss commissioners, or if they just run their own.
They run
because
their
they
own.
have their own.
Yeah, they run their own. I don't think we see their CIP or their budget or anything, do you, Joy?
The library?
No, Edelweiss.
No, we never
Yeah.
see any of
They-
those.
I don't,
Okay.
yeah, they're their own.
So, citizen requested projects, those could just be, I don't care if my name is on it, just, or you would know some too as part of the planning board, right?
Yes, I didn't know if,
What is that?
people come before you to get their article presented.
Yep, yeah, they would come to the select board, but
Okay.
it's really rare, cause Joe Dame came requesting ARPA funds for the food pantry. So that was like a citizen request, so that
Okay.
would just come before the whole BOS, but
Okay.
I don't
Yeah,
mind being the tracker of it, so my name would just be put in there to kinda keep track of them. Linda as well, as the town administrator. And then nonprofit requests is really Joe, Joe Dame and Linda.
Okay.
And Joe is ABC, but just kind of helpful volunteer, I think, in terms of that.
Okay.
Joe and Linda I would put down for that. Town administrator, yep, that would be Linda. Jim Curran for the school board, Heather, so they're, they have their own, school board and elementary school have their own CIP. Police department is on here. Library, Sloan would come, like she did for the, funding for the ADA doors.
Yeah, I think it's just Sloan.
Although sometimes the folks, when it comes to the building that would come out of the taxpayer, yeah,
Yeah.
it's usually Sloan or the trustees. DPW's Josh, fire department is Chief Brooks, Edelweiss, again, not really on our.
Not really on our
CIP.
radar.
Yeah.
Rec department should be Sherry.
Should be Heather
Oh,
O'Donnell
right.
as the rec director and Sherry Stockpole.
And then would rec department then get their own, if they had a project?
Yeah, if they had stuff that needed to be on here, they would have, it would be listed as their own department,
Okay.
because they have their own budget.
Conservation Commission, yep, they are on the CIP. Mad TV is on the CIP. Who is
Doug.
officially, who would be, if something else came up for Mad TV, such as needing, to modify the library to put an office down there, hypothetically, that would require taxpayer funding. Who would come to, who would?
That would come from the Mad TV board,
Okay,
and that's, their chairman is Hope Hutchinson
okay,
is the chairman of the Mad TV board.
alright. So, okay, Mark is your planning board. Old Home Week doesn't,
So they,
Would that be Parks and Rec?
no, it's not
No,
even,
they have, so they're kind of all over the place. Fireworks are under a patriotic purposes line in the budget. But they are their own separate committee that is appointed by the town but not,
it's not, they'll tell you
Subject
it's not
to
a
the town.
town entity.
But
Old
they
Home Week's
have-
not a town entity, but if it's appointed by the town and they have
It's
a
a
budget
committee.
line, I disagree and say that it is a town entity and should be, should be.
It's not their own nonprofit,
no, they're definitely not a nonprofit.
so then it should be
I-
a line item.
They're
I'm
not a
not sure
nonprofit.
that that's true. I'm not 100% sure because they have a bank account that they write checks out of, which comes out of donations and funding, so they're,
That's the only way that that is visible to the town is in the annual auditors, in the very details in the very back of the annual auditor's report. So we don't have visibility necessarily into the line items or much. And then there is, under the trustees of the trust funds, there is an old home week donations expendable fund, but that doesn't move very much from year to year,
No, because they expend most of what they bring in,
if that's where that's tracked.
if that's what, and that's, for me, that's kind of the issue, is there does not seem to be a clear process and transparency with regard to how that's all happening. And it's probably been happening very efficiently for, 30, 40 years or whatever it is, but I don't know that anybody, even in town hall, understands or knows how that all works, except for maybe Mike Brooks, but.
So maybe we could ask him just to clarify that and then put that and have their own.
I'll let you do that,
So
yeah.
the pavilion, where does we have a pavilion, so we have pavilion under general government. Cause should that almost be under Parks and Rec? I don't know.
The
Well, it
entire
depends.
ward parcel development that's on the charrette, including the, so that's under DPW though.
The pavilion, which was in the charrette, and they have a pavilion account for it, is under general government.
Okay.
So you can leave Old Home Week in there, but I don't think they have anything nor,
I crossed them off.
okay.
Cross it off.
Historical
Yeah, but now
Society
I'm
is
curious.
Linda Smith. Madison Food Pantry is definitely Joe.
And there are probably others, and I didn't know if,
Trying to think.
You've got conservation on here.
Conservation's on there.
Right. Code enforcement. I don't know. Conservation, DPW you have,
But it doesn't,
fire
I mean,
department,
code enforcement, while they have their own line items, comes under the general government budget, right? So,
probably. Let me see.
but it's good that Linda already sends this out and we can give this to her and ask her to send out the whole thing and just say, update what you need if it's missing. And
well,
then.
I would
for
ask them
this
to just
year-
update any missing information,
That they have.
yeah, and add anything that's not included.
Code enforcement is under building inspector.
And does that already have a due date? Do you know?
No, we haven't,
No.
we haven't sent it out for this year,
Okay.
or for this
No, I
Round.
think we were talking about waiting for this meeting so that we could capture any additional information or any other concerns, like this whole discussion of at what level of expense do we do this?
Okay.
library, so pretty much you have everything here. The only thing, that wouldn't be is code enforcement, but like Sharon said, I think that does fall under
General government.
general government. I would almost, rename town administrator's office to general government
On,
on
on
Tia's
this one?
list, yeah.
General.
yeah,
And library, I would cross off trustees and just say library. Yeah,
And do you find that you have to chase this information, or do you give the due date and then if it's not on here, it's not on here? And that's,
I think
We
Linda
gave-
ends up chasing it,
a little bit.
a little bit,
well, that's
yeah.
not really fair on her either, like, not saying that we should have to chase, we just shouldn't have to chase.
No, we
So,
shouldn't.
no.
They should do their jobs,
Yeah.
right? And I will say 99.9% of them probably do, because never has she, I don't want to say never, most of the time when she comes back, especially to the ABC and says, here's the updated draft of the budget, she will say, I'm still waiting on this information, and it's not, there's enough meat there to be working through in
Okay.
each meeting that, well, what do you mean we don't have any of this information, we can't do anything then, so,
Okay.
so I, you know, I'm, I don't wanna say I'm happy to, but I think if there's a single funnel through which this information comes, because Linda's gonna need it anyway, then the department heads aren't getting emails from multiple different sources probably asking for the same information,
Yeah.
that it comes from one area.
Okay.
And I have.
So that's kind of checked off, like she'll.
Well, I feel
she
like,
knows
well,
that it comes in.
in terms of, like, what would come through town hall would be police department, DPW, fire department, and
Yep,
rec
Police,
department,
DPW, fire, rec.
and then general government.
Well, Conservation Commission comes through, she reaches out to them, we don't reach out separately to them. I mean, she gets Conservation Commission, Planning Board. I mean, it all ends up feeding, because she compiles it all into a budget into a budget document, so
Okay.
it all goes through her.
Okay, and she can create a mailing list,
Oh, yeah,
a CIP mailing list, okay.
yeah.
And just blast it out to everybody. But then I feel like it should be our job, though, to see who's responded. Or just, she would forward it to us, and then we would see who's responded.
Right. I do think that breaking it into pieces, sending her the email that says, here's the DPW CIP, please forward this to Josh and get the requested information, because I don't know that the fire department really needs all of what the DPW is doing. They should just be looking at
I know,
their
but then
piece of
that's
it.
separate emails, as opposed to just having, like, sending this
standard.
out to a CIP mailing list that has all of these different departments.
Yeah, I think it should be separate emails.
Okay.
I do. Because I think it should be specific and address their specific pieces. Otherwise, if it just goes out to everybody, there's more of a tendency to kind of ignore it till the last minute. Seriously, as opposed to something that comes to me, then, that has a personalized email. I mean, it can be the same email, just maybe with one additional line to it that's cut and pasted from email to email and blind copied to us. And just ask, or whoever sends it, just ask Linda to forward to the chief of police for his input on this, blah, 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 hey chief, can you take a look at this? Because I don't want them to have to scan through and figure out which lines are theirs, so to speak.
Yeah. It's 10 separate emails, but I'm just trying to operate efficiently. One blast, and then we track who sends it back. All right, we're good. So we have the 10 different, basically, groups.
Or if you want, you could do it as one email to all of them, but keep them as separate files. Here's the DPW piece of it, here's the fire, so that the person, Chief Hayford, can just click on the police one. Okay, if you wanna do it as one email and you think that that's easier. Again, I'm just trying to keep them from having to.
We'll ask Linda. We'll
Yeah.
ask Linda what she wants to do. All right. So we've kind of looked at, yeah, all right. So we
What
do this, categories, we've talked about what categories will go in. We believe culvert should be at road CIP, threshold will be equipment, whose replacement will exceed $5,000. I need to make some updates to the spreadsheet. I'm gonna make sure that I kind of look at what's gonna hit the budget this year, but then also make sure we're tracking how much, if that's approved, that lease is gonna be over the next 7 years, and make sure that that shows really realistically each year.
And then what I've been asking from the different groups and departments is to think into the future about which projects they see coming down the line. And I know it doesn't exactly fit into this, it's more of an idea.
But I think it can be, I mean, it'll just have lots of empty spaces, but it can be a line item that says project planned, or project proposed, but it's there and they can spitball what they think it's gonna cost to create it. I mean, I think that's a worthy endeavor to be able to put on the CIP so that we understand, you know, in the next 5 years, here's some, like a pavilion, here's some of the things that might be coming. And that pavilion's gonna cost us, you know, $300 million or whatever it is, you know, $10 million. Better not be 300 million, oh my goodness. And then, you know, at some point, the town takes a look at it and says, is the cost worth the value that we get out of whatever it is whatever it is that project is.
Right.
So,
And that can be added later, so I feel like that's something that we're working on, for this next year, and it probably won't be done for this.
Oh, no,
this
I
year,
think
but we
I
can
think it's
add it in.
relatively
Okay.
easy to add a section under here that talks about planned projects or planned proposed projects.
Well, that's in there. That's part of the status column,
Right,
is planned.
Planned. So that means that it,
but that means it's already planned, it's already,
No, I feel
well, at
it's
least
kind of a wish list.
it's not a
that's a.
Proposed, I'll just add
proposed.
proposed.
Okay. So instead of it saying planned, it'll say proposed?
Yep.
Okay.
Well, no,
Oh.
plan-
Some of
I
them.
think
Planned
it's
slash
both.
proposed?
No, I think we could do both. One is planned is we're doing it, proposed is we'd like to do it. Planned
Okay.
kind of means in process, I think.
Right.
Or proposed
To
is
come.
wish list. Planned is we really wanna do it.
See, I'm the other way around, I think proposed is there's a warrant article that,
Oh, interesting.
right, it's a proposal to the town. Planned is, we're in the planning process of trying to
Ah,
create it.
okay. So what
So that's
better
from a
wording can we-
planning
Yeah, so what better
background,
wording can
contingency
we?
planning background. So, how about idea and planned?
There we go.
It's an idea that we might want this.
Wish list.
Yeah.
Wish
yeah.
list, idea,
That's fine.
whatever, yeah. That tells you, you know, we're just thinking about this kind of thing and maybe we want this and we're gonna look at it. Planned is something then that is, they're already gathering the information, they know
They
that they
should
wanna
have some
put a
numbers.
warrant article, they should be able to have some level of numbers, right?
And then in use is like mid-project or it's being used as a piece
It's,
of equipment.
that's typically, yeah, equipment,
Okay,
typically. But no, there are ETFs that are in use, listed as in use.
okay.
Alright, so do we wanna change planned to proposed?
We can.
Like you said, that there is an actual proposal.
And then is there anything else that you need for this to be most helpful for you in its current state with your edits for this year? Is there anything that we should be focusing on right now to make sure that we can use this?
I don't think so, just having the data from the different departments. I'm gonna change that status, I'm going to, like I said, kind of break out annual hit versus ongoing lease payment. I'm gonna add a sum kind of at the bottom, I think. Although I think kind of the sums maybe on the 10-year would be more accurate, they're already there, I don't know. And where do repairs go? Should repairs be a budget item? Should they be an ETF? And would they come under the highway heavy equipment ETF, or do they come under the ETF for purchase?
I think
That's a
they're in,
select board decision, I
right,
think.
I think they're an ETF and or a, budget line
Yeah,
item.
but not out of the highway heavy equipment
I-
for purchase.
I don't know, you have to look at the wording of the warrant article that established it as to what the use of that fund can be.
Yeah,
And is that maybe an action item for us, is to pull up and get the wording for all those warrant articles that created them? I don't know if Linda has that.
yes, she does. I think she has a whole book of them. It's also in the town reports.
Yeah, but it's year by year, so you'd have to go back. There's not
I have them
a
all
single.
online, I control off them.
You can.
Yeah, but I don't, but you have to know what year something was created. I don't know how long the heavy
I just-
equipment ETF has been. You're gonna keep going back to 1918 or?
No, I didn't.
That's.
We only go back to 1853, or maybe 1852. No, I have them all electronically, and I just kind of open them up and check every 5 years, is it an ETF, is it? And I also did some research already on because how we're funding things and when it came in, up in terms of the grader and where did we save, where did we blow it, where did we, you know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
So I have a kind of a history.
Okay, so
Right.
can you then put together a single document that says, heavy
Yeah, funding
highway ETF,
ETFs.
here's the wording.
Yep.
Capital improve or road improvement warrant article, here's the wording.
Yep.
And the year that it was established.
Yep. Some of those I tried to put in, year created.
Right.
Actually, so is the highway heavy equipment ETF? 2012, look at that.
Year created
Look at
purchase.
that.
Look at that.
Look at that, you've already got it.
Alright. So I'll go back to the.
Would it be
2012.
helpful if we ask, who does it fall on to be writing the grants? Should we not look at a grant for everything we can?
We
Yes,
should
we
be.
should.
We
So
should be.
who
We
does
encourage
that?
that, but that's the department head. It's on the
Okay.
department head to reach out to the town administrator and say, I wanna pursue a grant for this. And then, there's help that can be had. Joe Dame is excellent at writing grants. That poor guy's name gets bandied around pretty often. But he's very good at writing grants. He did it for part of a living for a while.
I think Linda submitted for the Clean Fleet grant that we just got.
Yeah.
And then Chief Brooks was looking into, they had another round of Clean Fleet. That was the rules were even less stringent to get that grant. So I know he attended a workshop or was planning on attending a workshop to find out about replacing fire equipment.
Do we,
Could that be added to the wording to that email to just say, what, if any, grants have you applied for and what? do you
and
have
or
on your-
are looking at?
Yeah.
Right. And then maybe have, instead of what this plan proposed is grants. And have a list down here that shows what grants we're looking at, what's the status of it, is it being pursued? Because I know the school, we were encouraging them to look for and submit for a grant for the emergency generator. There's a second emergency generator that's needed, and they were putting it in their CIP, and I'm like, well, I believe because this doubles as a shelter when we have catastrophes or weather issues, that talk to the emergency management director, which is Mr. Brooks, talk to him about pursuing a grant for that. Instead of spending money to get it, maybe we can get it as a grant. So those kinds of things, I think, capturing that, so that as we're going through, you recognize it, like Sloan Gerald got the grant for the library. Yes, it was $18,000, but 15 of it's gonna come out of a grant that has been granted, or 15 of it is proposed to come out of a grant that we are in the process of going after, kind of thing, so. I think that's really good information for the taxpayer to have when we are talking about the CIP and talking about, this bottom line number somewhere along the line that comes into, purchase, what do we have to put away in 2025, or actually 2026, what do we have to put away in 2026 in order to meet the requirements of our capital reserve fund for budgeting for replacing things?
And Joy, you have a spot for that already, so that's perfect. There we go.
Yeah, when you look at the other.
And then, sorry, I know I was asking questions about this highway
No,
thing before,
we
but
want you to ask lots of questions, lots of
I forget
questions.
if you guys are right, my brain's like, so this, who asks them to fill this out?
Well, the
Yeah.
ABC did.
Oh, you already asked them.
We had asked them last year.
Okay. I just didn't know if that was something that would really help you for this year's consideration of the budget. to have that done.
It absolutely would.
Because
Okay.
that ties into the road improvements warrant article.
Right, that ties into the road improvements, and there was, a couple meetings ago that the road improvement proposal that came from whatever that company
Oh.
was. So that's in the process of being, sort of discussed and talked about, and is this updated, is this not updated, is this, from a budget standpoint, do we wanna do all of this, do we need to do all of this? What is the want versus need? And that's where prioritization of this thing comes into play. And so through that budget process, when the DPW comes to discuss their budget, then that's when this will come up again.
And you'll expect to have this because it will show you exactly what they need and how
You would
that just
hope.
like provides for their case.
Yes,
funding.
yeah,
So-
it gives you evidence, it gives you information that you can say, no, here's why we need this
Yeah.
$500,000 or whatever it is. Here's the number
The
of
due
roads and
diligence,
here's the red ones.
Yeah.
There are some that are kind of not red, but they're like pink. So if we can't do all 10 roads this year, here's the really red ones, here's the burgundy ones, here's the red ones, and here's the pink ones. So let's prioritize among those, kind of thing.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So maybe
Because
we
I-
check in, could we, since it's already been sent out, do we check in, or is that ABC?
That's
ABC will-
probably the ABC.
Okay. All right, thank you. Is there anything else that you need for this year that we?
And just definitely the critical stuff is what are they asking for in 2026? What are we gonna see on the warrant in 2026?
And I think it probably is worth, at least a cursory look at it to see, like, does this make sense? Do these numbers make sense, or do we have questions about, if you're looking at the 2026 numbers?
So that's kind of like on the first page, the third section, you're to replace.
Yeah, I'm just looking here, I'm going to page 3 where you have it 2026, and you
Yeah.
have those numbers.
Yeah.
Like, it says $500,000 for the road improvement warrant article,
Yep.
250,000 for a TBD backhoe.
Yeah.
And those are missing because we don't know if we've got them yet. Is that right?
Which ones?
Like the dump truck, the planned TBD dump truck on the first, where's that?
Right underneath the cat 920.
Yeah, I think that,
Those 2 planned ones.
So that
You know what,
wouldn't
I
have
think-
a replacement year necessarily yet.
that might be the replacement for the Peterbilt. That I was kind of planning for that replacement. And maybe that's where, I don't know,
The 2008 Peterbilt?
where'd the 2005 go?
Down a little
Oh,
bit.
down, it's under
further.
transfer station. I forget which one we're looking to replace, that the grant is for.
Well, that would be good to know.
It would be
But
good,
the
and I have
transfer-
it somewhere in my notes, I just gotta look it up. I thought it was 2005, and now I'm seeing the 2008, kind of questioning that.
But they wouldn't use oh wait, maybe I'm just wrong.
That was,
This first one was a truck with a wing and a plow, so that's a plow truck? Is that the one you're looking at versus the Peterbilt?
yeah, I'm looking at the 2005 Peterbilt under the transfer station.
Oh, okay,
I think that's the one where
But
we're
that's a
gonna-
tractor trailer,
yeah.
Where? Oh, then maybe
so
it
it's
is
not a wing and a plow. It's not a dump truck with a wing and a plow, that I know of. That says tractor trailer.
Okay. Then it must be the 2008 Peterbilt.
I
I don't know, I'll have to check. my
8
notes.
Peterbilt dump truck. Well, that says body 2023, I don't really know what that means. Yeah, and that's why I think we need more information.
Yeah,
Do we set, you might have already answered this too, oh my goodness. do we set a due date for this, or does ABC set a due date for this?
Well,
No,
we're the-
this
we're
is
the-
ours,
yeah,
this
we're
is
the-
ours, so I
Okay.
think we're perfectly legit to set a proposed due date.
Okay.
So if you want to, do you wanna look at a calendar and see? And I think we also are gonna need to figure out when do we wanna meet again. Oh, we are in October, aren't we?
Okay, so the 2005 Peterbilt was originally purchased as a tractor trailer for hauling trash up to Mount Carberry. It was later decided to buy a roll-off truck to haul refuse and to turn truck 11 into a dump body / plow truck. Truck was sent to HP Fairfield for new plows and used dump body. Bodies was purchased from McLean's. The front plow wing, it cost approximately $45,000.
So can we, in
That is what we're
this,
replacing.
so that, you know, we don't have to, you have to go back and get all that stuff. Can we, on this line and other lines as we go forward, put a comment that's hidden and you just click on it and it comes up that says what you just said, originally purchased as a tractor trailer to haul trash, but now changed into a dump body, blah, 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 that
Yeah, I can
way.
do a hidden column.
Well, I don't know that it needs to be a hidden, however you wanna do it, I'm not gonna
Or
tell
it
you how to.
doesn't even have to be hidden.
Right,
What
I
is
mean-
it that you wanted?
I'm thinking if you put it as a comment on that line, when I scroll over that line, it comes up and says, this was this was originally purchased.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah, add
see
a
what you're saying.
comment, right?
I see
Click
what
and
you're
add a
saying, the little
comment to it.
pop-up. Yeah, that wouldn't be visible when printed, I don't think.
Correct.
Yeah, okay,
But it would be there when we're looking at it.
I like that.
I think that tractor trailer you're talking about was the truck that was purchased incorrectly, that was going to be a plow truck. And then they decided it could not be a plow truck, and they had to sell it at a loss.
No, this is one we still own.
This is, yeah, this is,
Because there was one that we bought.
and it's probably not even on here.
And then it turned out we could not use it as a plow truck. It was bought in error, and we had to take a $30,000 cut because we couldn't use it. And that
I
caused,
don't know which one that
that
is.
caused a personnel issue.
Huh, okay.
Yeah.
I did not do that. Did they get like a 1,500 and they should have got a heavier duty?
Yeah.
Yeah, they bought this,
Something.
was a tractor trailer.
Oh, it was the truck.
It was a tractor trailer cab,
Okay.
and they thought they could use it as a plow truck. They brought it down to Kenworth, and Kenworth says, oh no.
Yeah, no,
you
no,
can't
no.
use this as a plow truck.
You can't weld all that stuff on the front end of
So then the
this.
town had to sell the truck at a $30,000 loss.
Wow.
Any guesses as to what year that was?
Within 2 years ago, I think.
Hmm.
I mean, it was a used vehicle, but it was, I think this all happened 2 years ago.
Might be 3 by now, I think.
Oh, well, I was track of time at my age.
So it was like a town. I see. Jeez. Okay.
So probably like 2020, just coming out of COVID, I think.
23?
22, 23.
22, 23, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it sat in on the town parking lot, that garage, for a year. Truck sat there, well, being used. Sorry.
That's okay.
Crazy. Okay, so going back to due dates,
Yeah.
the next ABC meeting is the 21st. So it would be nice to have the updated CIP for that, and I know that that only gives them 1
2 weeks, well, a week and a half.
week and a half. I mean, but whatever they can get by then,
Yep.
Oh, October 21st.
yes.
Okay.
And I don't know if you wanna come to the ABC meeting, just
Oh, they're
to.
fun.
Right?
I said, oh, they're fun.
Oh, they're fun. Just so that you can see, they're at 6 o'clock,
Or play along from home.
or play, right, or watch from home. Do we want to in the beginning, or give them a by November sort of 6th timeframe? Cause there's another ABC meeting Oh, I have to look. My calendar says November 4th, but, oh, we don't have any town elections going on then. So November 4th is probably okay.
Maybe ask.
Want to have a
Because-
CIP meeting on like the 6th
Yeah.
at the same time? Can you, I don't know if you can do
All right, so,
CIP at 9:30.
Yes, we do have an election on the 4th. It's the state primary. It's the election day for the country. So I think there's a state primary that day.
I've not seen or heard anything.
Well, it's an off year.
And there's.
but it is
there-
a primary, it would be the midterm elections, is that?
Yes, there you go.
Midterm.
Midterm elections.
But Linda, when I asked Linda, when we were going through the drawdown with regard to elections, she said there's no more expenses for elections this year because we don't have any elections.
It's on my calendar, but that's,
Yeah, I have it too, as election day.
yeah,
I mean, it's a federal election day,
yeah.
so it'll always be on my
And I thought it
calendar.
was a state as well.
Yeah, I don't know if it is.
You know? Well,
I don't know. Is there anything on the, because the school it would be in the school. Is the school calendar available and is the school closed that day for election day?
I am on the school, I do have the school calendar. It is not noted as closed.
Right, so I don't think we have an election.
Does that give people enough time?
Well, you would hope that they're already doing this internally because they're developing their budgets anyway, right? Because they know that their budget deadline is coming in within another month or so.
Okay.
I don't even know if this is a midterm year. This is
I think next year is the midterm.
Yeah, this is a special elections year. Coos, County District 5 is having a special
yeah,
election.
I don't see
right.
one either.
I don't see one.
Stratford
No, I've
had
got
one.
And that would then,
Yeah, Coos is having a special election on November 4th.
oh wait, ask Linda, and then I didn't write what else. Ask Linda what?
And Stratford County already had their special elections.
Okay, so what deadline or what due date, shouldn't say deadline, what due date do we want to give to?
You would want
Linda
it
to
before.
communicate. I had,
You'd want it before your next.
well,
meeting,
again,
right?
we have a meeting on the 21st of October and we have a meeting on the 4th of November.
I would
Should I
think
get
a
that?
week and a half should be good, like if they can deliver it,
By
Is there-
Monday, the 20th to Linda?
yeah, or midday the 21st or something, just. Excuse me.
I don't know.
Actually, no, if they deliver it on Monday the 20th, then I can update it.
That's what I was thinking, that you
Yeah.
have time to update. So Monday, the 20th, by close of business, ask Linda
Yeah.
to have updates returned by COB 10/20.
And then department heads to fill in blanks for any and everything.
Right, anything they can possibly, if they can fill it in, fill it in.
Can they put that iWork rating in too?
If-
Can they fill
if-
that in?
Who is it
Or
that
for
does
the
it? Does it,
Dave Swift.
Dave Swift? Yeah. So if Dave Swift has them, then, yeah, they should get filled in.
And then the priority, we definitely need their priority, their year to replace,
Right.
their estimated costs, what they have. I'm gonna change expected and encumbrances, I don't like that wording. I mean, I might just put like funding source or not.
What is that number? Well, the capital source next to it tells you where the money's coming from, so.
Oh, was it that you were going to ask her to put in grant if they've
Oh.
completed, like,
Right.
looking for a grant, maybe?
Yeah, but fill in the blanks, add equipment and projects, that will exceed, whose replacement will exceed $5,000. And then any grants they're looking for. So expected
What is that?
encumbrances, it's basically money, whether it's a grant or a. Should it be funding source first?
No, I don't know
Unless
that it
the
needs to be,
amount.
and so maybe you can change that capital source to funding source. Maybe you could change that expected encumbrance and capital reserve to expected funding amount,
Well, cause
or
there's,
just expected amount.
well, no, cause I have funding on the end, right? Because we've got encumbrance meaning offset. Like,
But do you need that last one? Cause under the funding source, couldn't you put warrant article, 2025 warrant article, and take out that whole, cause the only thing you've got on there is warrant articles anyway.
No, because, looking at the grader as the example, we had an offset with trade-in.
Right.
And then the remaining amount was going on the warrant.
But that's still the funding source, was still gonna be,
Well, the trade-in offset. And so if somebody has a grant, we should make sure that,
so then do you want two columns that say funding source? First is the trade-in, second is the remainder goes to the warrant article.
so should we call that not offset, what's the word I'm looking for?
I don't know, cause I don't know what,
So for example, when you have a trade-in or you have a grant for the library, they had part of it covered through the grant. For the grader, they had part of it covered with the trade-in.
oh, so that 32.5 was just the money we were getting from it's not really an expected encumbrance. It had nothing to do with an encumbrance. 'Cause
Right.
That's money we were getting,
Right. To
so.
offset the cause we have the purchase, the
How
whole,
about-
the whole shebang was 460, but then we were able to offset some of it with the trade.
Why don't we call it funding offset,
Okay,
or cost offset?
okay. And then,
Should it be capital sources then, and then they can put whether they are getting a trade and
Well,
a grant?
here's what I would
Offset
do, is
source.
call it the offset source.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cause then you know where that 32, I'm gonna look at the grader, then I know where that 32.5 was coming from. It was
Yeah.
coming from a trade, or it could come from a sale if we sold it outright. Then interest rate of finance, total cost with interest, and then I would.
so there is some behind the scenes math where I don't show 460 minus 32,500. But that's what we're financing at 5.99%.
But this was the
That's the
total
total.
cost with interest,
Right.
but there's nothing that shows the total budget finance piece, which would have been this 473 minus the 32.5.
Well, no, cause so we had, say, 460,000, and then that was the price, that was the
and
sticker
so the
price.
32.5 comes off the 460.
Yeah,
That's what we financed at 5.99.
Yes.
To give you the 473.
yes. And I don't wanna add too many columns in
With
between.
too many numbers, right? Well, we'll just, yeah, I think we just remember that this cost offset reduces the column beforehand, reduces the purchase before trade or financing. I
Before
would say-
offset.
Before offset,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I think you could add a column if you really wanted to between that offset source and the interest rate of finance that says, it's like a subtotal or something.
Yeah, I know.
Cause that tells you that's how much we were actually financing
Yeah.
at 5.99%.
Yeah. Yeah, it's always hard to squeeze it all in.
Right.
Does this give you enough time to go in and edit it?
Yeah.
With that 2 day, okay. And we're having our next meeting on.
Oh, right, you wanna have, our next meeting is, what did we say? Oh,
Is
on
it the 6th?
November 6th? Yeah.
Okay. Alright. And then at the next meeting, we will want to review everything.
yep.
The updated CIP.
Yeah,
So we also want to, well, here's a thought. Do we want to meet? Cause I would like to kind of, once we have the CIP, once we have that information and the columns I'm adding, whatever, the updates made, I think this needs to get out to the planning board, not, you know, the ABC, but also to the planning board. And
to the Board of Selectmen.
yes, but does it go to the planning board first?
Why? It's no longer associated with the planning
true.
board other than TIA.
True.
So, and that's, I had
Well, I think
asked
we're a
that question.
subcommittee of the
from-
planning
to
board,
read-
but.
We are not, we're a subcommittee of the selectmen. So I'm sure at the planning board meeting, she reports back as to what's going on, since you're a member.
Okay.
And then what we might consider is, as we move forward, is having sort of a joint meeting of the ABC and the CIP as an agenda item. Right? And so that we can discuss it in relation to what the ABC is looking at and what the ABC is doing,
Okay.
so.
Yeah. And
But I
then
think that
maybe-
that could be further along, that could be like December's meeting or something. December
yeah.
could be really long meetings.
It's like we get through this, we get this done, and then we can look at next year's scheduling and how we can better align that and make sure that we are giving people the opportunity to come in and talk about their projects.
Well, I want folks to, so we know, like, you know, the DPW has several pieces of equipment they wanna replace. I wanna make sure that that's on here, and this is before the selectmen and before the budget committee
Yeah.
for this budget cycle, because they plan on putting things on the 2026 warrant.
And
So
that's,
I
so,
feel like this should be kind of done by like December 31st or something.
oh God, yes.
Yeah.
And so we bring this back to the selectmen and they vote on it. Cause we're just
I don't know
advisory
that
to
they
accept
vote
the
on it.
plan.
What's there to vote on?
Whether they accept the plan or not.
I don't know.
I
To
don't
put
know
forward.
that the select board has ever, I mean, I don't know that the planning board has ever voted on the CIP, right?
I don't know.
So, just
we
an
want them?
informational tool, it's like, they don't
Okay.
vote on this, they don't vote on the road CIP, they don't vote on this.
I would say we just, as the select board, just say, okay, departments have given us everything, everybody's given us anything, you know,
But do
is
they
our
need
story
to
and we're sticking
review
to it. I think, well, yeah, I think the select board definitely needs to review it because they need to see what we're being hit with this year, one time, and then what it's gonna cost us over time, because the select board basically do the warrants.
Right, I was gonna
We-
say, it'll come up when they decide
Finalize the
and
warrant.
vote on what the warrant article should say, as to whether or not they accept the CIP as written and the total cost, or whether or not, and the ABC will do the same thing, do we accept the CIP as written? And or do we have any questions, you know, like, oh, we don't necessarily agree with needing to replace this thing because we use it once a year. So why buy a new one? Why not just rent it?
So you
Or-
both of your boards take
Yeah,
that into
yeah.
account, okay.
But I don't know that
So
the
we do.
planning board, I don't know that the planning board really does. Which is maybe why they were like, we don't really have a dog in this fight as much as everybody thought we did. I think that it's wholly appropriate from the project standpoint, if there are projects like the Silver Lake repair thing and building a pavilion as it's laid out in the master plan. I think
Yeah.
those things are wholly appropriate for the planning board to take up and say, their input, so to speak, to this, but I'm
I
not
feel like it will
actually-
become more of a thing, like, once we have that information
Information.
from the master plan,
Yeah.
then we can say, okay, so this is saying that we wanna do this with zoning, we need policy change for this, we need our budgets to align
Right,
with that, so.
Yeah.
Hopefully, the planning board can inform it more,
right,
you guys make sure it makes sense
that it all
fiscally.
makes, yeah, makes
Yeah,
sense
I think
fiscally.
it's on the planning board to say, like, some of these projects in the selectmen, but to say that, hey, we would like to use Burkefield for more than what it is right now, and how do we plan that?
Right.
Okay, we put forth something that says it'll cost this amount of money, here's the charrette, here's the whatever,
Right,
to do that.
right. And here's how it fits within the other pieces of how it's used and.
Yeah,
Cause I feel like the select board, if we kind of own the official budget and then, the select board needs to go, okay, the DPW wants to replace, and I just keep using them because they're top on the list here.
Right,
They wanna replace their 1989 chipper, they need to give us more specific numbers, but you know what, even if it's $50,000, we're making that 2027, they can rent next year if they need to. I mean, I feel like, so this is, the department heads say this is the year we wanna replace it, but I feel like with enough information, the select board can go, yeah, no, we're gonna push that out another year.
or we're gonna tell you, no, you're never gonna get it replaced, you're just gonna rent it from year to year, cause it only costs us $2,000 a year to rent.
Yeah.
It would take, 45 years to recover the cost if we purchase it, because we only use it, So that's where I think it's really important for the department heads, when they come before the ABC, to really have their ducks in a row with regard to what's the cost benefit analysis for purchasing this as opposed to renting it, as opposed to subcontracting it out to somebody to come do, or what are the other options to be able to achieve what you want to achieve with that particular piece of equipment, as opposed to let's just go buy a new one.
so how do we make it easier for them to come before you with that information prepared? Is it already in like a
It's
a
not,
format for you? Okay.
it's not.
So maybe.
It ends up being in the questions that we, as an ABC, ask, and then that information goes back to them, the questions we ask goes back to them, and so that in the next meeting, they can come forward with that research or those, whatever answers to the questions we ask.
So maybe.
I would really like to make it sort of a standard operating procedure, that if you've got something in this CIP, we wanna see the cost benefit analysis. And I think the CIP committee should see that cost benefit analysis of, each option, what are the options? And, cause maybe they're not thinking about some of those options. And we can turn around and look, well, you've only given us the option to buy or rent. Well, what about subcontracting? Is there a company in town that does this kind of work that we wouldn't have to, all we'd have to do is get on their schedule kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so then they can take a look at that, but yeah, getting them to do, and I will tell you, I know that the department heads are busy, they are busy,
But this is so important. This is like top
Yes.
of the line. You don't get your money if you don't ask and put forth the
Well,
work.
and I think that's where I think that the ABC, the CIP, and the selectmen all have to come together and be of that mindset that, look, if you can't defend your budget, you're not gonna get it. So you have to defend it, and you can't just say, well, because we need it. You have to have a compelling reason to show us, to say, yes, it warrants spending $150,000 on this.
Could that be a task for the ABC? Would the ABC be able to take that on and give like a first run of that? What are the
Sure.
questions that help us say yes?
Right,
You know, like,
right.
what does that look like to you? And then maybe we take it back and the select board, same thing. That's probably very similar questions.
So I think we can take our first stab at that in the email that goes to the department heads that says if you have a line item on here, it would be to your distinct benefit to provide the case analysis for this purchase or this replacement and, attach it with your CIP so that the CIP, the ABC, and the selectmen, as they're reviewing these, can take a look at this, and if they have specific questions, then they can ask you. But if you do a really good case in presenting your case analysis, it'll be like, oh, okay, now I see. We use this however many times a year, like a fire truck. It gets used, however many times a year, and there's 62 fires in the town, or, whatever it is, however you're gonna plead your case.
Yeah, I saw a really good one, and I know that it's a city, but it was Portsmouth, and I was looking at their CIP, and just because it was mentioned in an article, but what they do is they have them take a picture of the piece of equipment so everybody knows what they're talking about. It's not just this, so it would be a separate sheet, but then they go into more detail, they answer your questions, they fill out the prompt, and they have all of that ready for you to go, so you just look at it and you're like, oh, this is what they're talking about, or we need to buy this fire truck, but we also have to, put all this equipment inside it, so
Right.
this is what the equipment looks like.
Well, like when we buy a police department car,
Or- yeah.
you then have to do the lights and
Outfit
the
it.
sirens, and you have to outfit it, and
What does
you
that
gotta
look
put the decals on the side of it that say Madison, so.
Yeah.
And that's an extra $17,000 above and beyond the purchase price of the vehicle, so.
And that's your proposal, so that would be something similar like that, so that it's really easy for you just flipping through, like, okay, this is what you're talking about.
So do we think that might be easy to pull from the city of Portsmouth, use that as a template to provide as an attachment to this email that would go to the department heads?
Yes, because I'm sitting there, I'm kind of writing notes, basically calling it like a project equipment request. And that there be a form, and that the information they need to include would be the CIP data, just these first couple of things. Like you're talking about like the cost, but what are the subtotals, like you said, decals and things like that. So kind of what is that cost? And then the next piece is the cost analysis, and the cost should, kind of backtracking, the cost should include financed versus out of budget, like.
Right, it should
Cost
include all of this,
Right, fund
offsets,
source.
funding source, the subtotal,
Yep.
the interest rate, and, total amount kind of thing.
Yep.
Don't make us do the math
Your
for you.
Right. So it should have a cost analysis of replace, repair, rent,
Right,
quotes and estimates.
contract out.
Contract, yep. Another quotes and estimates, pictures, and then, there was another thing that we just mentioned.
The picture of the
Photo.
equipment?
Maybe?
No.
Something to do with the cost analysis. Oh, financing? No, because that's in here.
That's
Grants.
grants.
Grants sought.
So would that be more realistic to have done once you have your next meeting? So like this is gonna go out and get updated, but we could work on that
Yeah, have them, yes.
format and then
Yes,
Right.
have them do this by the 21st.
Right,
And then once they put in new projects, okay. you
but
know,
but I would like to give them that heads up on that,
Yes.
that template
Yeah.
with this going out. This isn't due right now, but know that this piece is coming so that you can, I don't want to call it defend, but you can technically defend your cost request, your request for expenditures.
Justify.
Yeah, you can rationalize and justify. What's a day without a good rationalization? That you can then, convince people and show that you've done your homework and that you know what the cost is really gonna be to the taxpayer. You're considerate of that, and because of the priorities of stuff, well, that's the other thing, is to add what the priority is.
Yeah, that's in here.
Okay. Well, it's in here, but it's not on that might not be on that template piece.
Yeah, no, I was thinking like the CIP data. So even
Okay.
if if we build this into the template, but yeah, I have that as a line as the CIP data, like this section here
Okay.
would have to be,
In the template.
yeah, if you wanna send me that template, I can kind of bang out what we just talked about.
Yeah.
What it looks like, yeah, sure.
So I think that that's an awesome idea.
I do too.
So then we would have that update, those template updates back by November? The November 4th meeting? Or November 18th, whatever, yeah, 18th. Because that gives them then basically a month. Because if they have to do research to get those numbers and get some of that information, like if they're gonna trade it in, who they're gonna trade it in to, do they have an estimate from whoever they're trading it in to?
So there's a budget meeting on the 21st?
There's a budget meeting on the 21st of this month, yes, of October,
Okay,
October 21st.
make sure the town calendar gets updated with those meetings.
Should say.
No,
No.
on the website.
They do that upstairs, I don't have any access to that calendar.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright, cause it's not
And-
on there.
Oh, it's not?
Yeah.
I'll talk to Linda.
I rely on that calendar, it's very handy. Alright, so the 21st.
Is it on that one, next to you, behind you? 21,
What month?
October?
ABC, yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah, I don't have access to that calendar, so I'll ask Linda, cause she gave me a sheet, and I can scan that and email it to the both of you, that shows what our proposed meetings are for the rest of the year, for till March, February, March.
Alright, so we want CIP data back from
Oh,
the
yeah,
department
because I'll
heads
wanna
for October
Notice them.
20th.
Do you think that this is a good time, just in general, if I put it out for a year long, to tack it up on the boards around town to
No,
be
you have to,
noticed?
we
Yeah.
have to.
I did
Well-
this meeting, but I wasn't sure if we wanted to make this our, like, perpetual.
So, obviously it's critical to meet, like during this budget planning process.
Right.
But it's gonna be frozen as of January, kind of, right, by the end of January.
February,
Well,
maybe.
the things go to print, I wanna say by like February 8th, maybe
February
February
8th,
15th.
yeah,
They
somewhere
go to
around
print,
there.
so
Early February.
it's kind of frozen by then.
By then,
Yeah.
right.
It's like frozen as of February 1st-ish. And then we kind of have town meeting and probably no discussions of it February, March.
Well, there
We're
is
just gonna
discussion
have
of it
to-
for the vote, because
Right.
it's after that February 8th timeframe area where,
So for about a month, I don't know that we necessarily need to meet, I don't know.
correct.
Yeah,
So we can
So,
skip February and March, and then,
bring it back up in September. Start
so
again.
take the summer off.
Yeah, take the summer off. We do for the ABC, the
Yeah.
same, you know. um, There's really, the only thing that I usually have them still meet on a monthly basis, once a month in the summer, just to review the drawdown. So that we check and see that are we expending the funds that were approved in a succinct manner and in accordance with, you know, we're 6 months through the year, we're 50% through the year, are we about 50% expended? Or is there something that's way out of whack and is gonna cause an issue? That's really the only thing we look at.
Okay.
And then we start to talk about generally healthcare costs for the next year, because that seems to be the biggest issue. that-
Because you're not only doing capital, you're doing.
I'm doing the entire
operation
budget,
and-
yeah,
okay.
the entire budget.
Are there any other budgets that I don't know about, or are those the two budgets?
I think we kinda, there's
More
the two basic budgets, but so many layers to
Yeah, the two basic budget being the school budget and the
town,
town
yeah,
budget.
but so many different layers to
But there's
each.
pieces of it, yeah,
Yeah, okay, so 20th, we're gonna get the updates
right,
back, and I will deliver them to the ABC on the 21st.
okay.
And then we'll request kind of any forms?
Yeah, I'm gonna call it the template. I'm gonna call it the cost
Request form.
analysis template.
I'd call it just a request form. Cause we're gonna ask for the data, what are you asking for?
So here's my concern, if you
Yeah.
call it a request form, there will be entities that say we don't have the authority to make them request stuff.
True,
You
very
know
true.
semantics are very important. So I think it is an analysis form.
Okay,
Okay, yeah,
okay,
because we're just advisory.
project analysis,
Project
or-
analysis form,
yeah, we're
That's
figuring.
great.
yeah.
See.
And that'll be due, what we say, November 17th, so that there's time to compile that and get it ready for, actually, we can make it due like the 13th, and that way Linda has time to put it together for the,
But then the select board doesn't see it till the 25th? That seems
okay?
kinda late in the game. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, so when then do you want it due?
So if they're gonna have all the initial data gathered by the 21st, and ABC is gonna have it on the 21st, then I say we give them maybe to the
When's-
30th? We give them another week and a half or so to do the cost analysis. Because like you said, they're getting a heads up today or tomorrow when the email goes out
Right,
that they're gonna be asked to do a cost analysis. And then they can, and they'll send us everything they want, but then the cost analysis for the things they really want this year by the October 30th or 31st.
if we do the
That'd be like
30th,
three
then
things.
the people are in town hall to receive it. If you do the 31st, there's nobody, it's, the
Yeah.
town hall's closed, so.
Yeah, okay, so then the cost analysis is due October 30th.
Okay, and then it can be sent out to, both the ABC, or all three, the ABC, the CIP, and the Board of Selectmen. So that as our meetings come up on the 4th, the 6th, and, are you guys meeting on Veterans Day?
We moved it to Monday the 10th.
Okay,
4th, 6th, and, yep, so it can be ABC on the 4th, us one last shot on the 6th, and then to the select board on the 10th.
right.
Okay.
Now, Tia,
Yes.
how would you, because I am fairly certain that when it goes to the ABC, yes, I'll be able to address whatever issues come up, but I don't know, again, if you want to attend that ABC meeting on the 4th, so that as I'm presuming you're the de facto head, chairman of this committee. Do we have to vote
I
on
know
that,
the
Joy?
least about the CIP, so I would not be offended or whatever if somebody else wants to be the head of this.
No, you can be,
That's fine.
no,
It-
the chair kind of keeps us moving, keeps
Right.
the meetings going along.
You know, just
can do
works
that.
with Linda to make sure the agenda is set, and I'll talk to you about the agenda, you don't have to put all that information in there, you can make it much more simple for yourself.
Okay.
When does the planning board meet again?
Yeah, when, the planning board
the
meets
5th.
the first,
They meet
I
on the
was gonna
5th,
say, they
so
meet
that's
the
a good
first
week.
Wednesday of the month.
Okay. Yep, so the 30th, we'll have all the data back, I'll update it, ABC will have it on Tuesday the 4th.
Okay, do we
Planning
need a
board
motion
can
to
have it
make
on the
Tia the chairman?
My understanding is we don't vote, we're just a working group, but,
We're not a working group, we're an official
Oh.
committee. Go back to the warrant article, that was the question I asked this morning.
okay,
I went up and I had the
Okay.
warrant article read to me, cause if we're a working group, we're not required to have,
true.
but we are required to have them because we
Okay.
are a committee by RSA.
Alright, well, we're not, okay. So I will make a motion,
I'll second.
to appoint.
All in favor, say aye.
Yes, chair of the CIP committee.
Yeah.
Unanimous.
Okay.
You do get to vote for yourself too.
Yes.
You can be like, no!
Don't worry, we're not gonna leave you out there to hang, we'll help you.
Okay,
Alright.
thank you.
No, I mean, you've
appreciate
already,
it.
like, you've already shown the
taught me
leadership.
everything.
You did the agenda, you put this together, like, you're already
Yeah. You're already
leading
chairing.
us, you're already leading us, so
You're
it's
already
just a
chairing.
matter of us.
We are strong
Right,
women.
you guys
The work.
do, yeah,
We
you
won't
guys do the
hesitate.
numbers, I can do the notes, or the agendas, that's fine.
Yeah. Okay.
So who's asking Linda to, I have to update this, so I'll update this stuff, and then who's asking Linda to send it out and drafting the little bit, the blurb that's gonna go in the emails?
Well, I think as the chairman, Tia should.
Okay. Alright, so fill in the blanks, add equipment and projects over 5,000, we're gonna send out the sample form, and kind of ask what grants people.
Are you going to add a block down the bottom for grant info?
Um,
Just,
I think they can reply by email or just write it in.
Yeah, but if you don't give them a template for
I
what to
know, I
write,
just-
you're not gonna get the information.
I know, I'll just have to do another pivot table or something, cause I don't wanna mess my data table. I'll figure it out.
Okay,
I'll figure it
we'll see what you come up with.
out. Okay.
I was gonna say, if you separate it, I don't think you'll mess your data table, but that's okay. I'll let you, it is your spreadsheet, I will not mess with it.
It is. I know I can select a certain amount to be in the data table and do the pivots from that.
Do you guys want me to wait until I have the form? So the form should go and then,
Yes.
I'll-
Form should go with the email, yeah.
All right, so I will update the CIP as discussed. If you shoot me the form that you found, then I can kind of tweak it and see if we can send it as is, or if they're kind of the things that we wanted to add to that.
Right.
okay.
I will
And
take I'm leaving on Friday
No,
to go down for a week
Too
to
bad.
Long Island. I will take my computer with me so that if you need, like, hey, how does this look? I'll be able to bring it up and take a look at it.
Okay.
Okay, and so the other thing we'll ask Linda, if you wanna send an email to Linda, oh no, you're gonna do this, Joy, right? Get all the warrant articles that created the ETFs
Yes.
and, okay, put together in a single document?
Yep.
Okay, and then, I think that was it?
And I'll just ask Linda to put the notice of our schedule.
Right, so that schedule, do we want to take a look at, now, we did, so it's what did we say, November 6th, right, 11/6. Do we wanna set another meeting in the beginning of December? Like December 4th?
All right, so we're gonna meet on the 6th.
We're meeting November 6th.
At 9:30 again,
Yeah, 9:30 works for me.
and then December 4th.
December 4th at 9:30?
Yeah, if we need to move it up because of tons of feedback or, cause we're gonna kind of roll it out, do a soft rollout, soft launch, the week of the 3rd and then into the 10th there.
Of November.
Yes,
Yeah.
so we can say the 4th, but if something explodes or needs our attention before,
We can
then
always-
we can add a meeting.
Are either of you going away? Oh, Thanksgiving's the next week anyway. It's the 25th through the 28th. We could always schedule a meeting for Thursday, the 20th, 2 weeks after that one, if we need people to come in and explain. Yes? You wanna set a tentative meeting for the 20th? We can always
Sure.
cancel it.
Sure.
So CIP at 9:30 on the 20th.
But having folks explain, like, what would they be explaining, their cost analysis, or?
Yes, yeah, their cost
Okay.
analysis.
But we make no decisions, we just make sure it's in a good enough format to go to the select board and the ABC.
Yeah, I mean, we can
have
make
their
a
input.
decision to recommend or not recommend.
Okay.
That's exactly what the ABC does as an advisory.
Should we leave that to the ABC then?
No, I think it warrants, although.
Cause I feel like you're gonna be voting on it on the ABC, I'm gonna be voting on the select
select
board,
board.
so I feel like maybe we don't need to do that, if we just
Well-
make sure their information is correct.
I don't know.
I think Doug felt so.
I mean, I'm only one person from the ABC, there
Yeah.
are,
Right, but it would go
4
to
other
the,
members.
right, so we could just essentially make sure that we feel like their cost analysis is in good shape, and then it goes off. That it meets the requirements of the CIP. And then the ABC recommends or doesn't, and the select board
We could,
recommends or doesn't.
we could have on here if they have any questions. If it's obvious that it doesn't meet what we need, we can email them.
oh yeah.
Alright, come in.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, if we get a template back and it's like, boom, 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 and it's like, oh, okay, I see where this makes sense for what they're gonna do. Okay, I understand the whole thing. I'm not approving it or disapproving it, I just understand where all the numbers are coming from and what the rationale is. I would think, I mean, maybe Doug, you can help me here, I would think that the ABC might wanna know, what does the CIP think?
Okay.
Yes.
I mean, the way it's written is, yeah, we're
Yeah.
aid the selectmen and the ABC in their consideration of the annual budget.
Right, so I think that,
We're aiding them in providing our opinion.
yeah,
Okay.
okay, so
Yeah.
do we wanna then? So, okay, so I have November 6th, November 20th, December 4th. December 4th, what other dates?
Not January 1st.
No, obviously not, and not December 25th.
Um,
Do we wanna have one on the 18th of
um,
December, just in case to wrap up before we get through the holidays?
yeah, tentative, yeah, just put it on there and, well, if we
Again.
put it on there, I don't know, it's,
If you put it on there, we're supposed to have a quorum,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Supposed to have a quorum for the meeting, and it'll, Carol will be here to, to videotape it, but if we're not
Yeah,
gonna.
we have to bring cookies, cause
Right.
Carol and Doug have been here a long time.
Right, but if
It's
we
lunch.
end up not needing the
It's
meeting, we can cancel it. We just put a notice of cancellation out.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, and then January would be probably, I think maybe around the 9th.
8th to keep it on Thursdays?
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, my calendar switches formats. It starts on a Monday instead of Sunday for 2026, because I bought a different calendar. So on the 8th,
Yep.
CIP, 9:30.
And by the 22nd and whatever, it should be frozen.
So no February, no March.
Do we just want to then, that's the final vote, so to speak, on the 22nd, we take a vote from the CIP to recommend or not recommend, or recommend with caveats, or at least draft an opinion page of the CIP? We don't have to recommend or not recommend and vote, but maybe draft an opinion page? Because do we owe, as an official committee, do we now owe a write-up for the budget, for the town report?
Yeah, I
We're
don't
not a
know.
working group.
I don't know.
I know the ABC submits one, doesn't every committee? Does every committee submits one? So now I'm thinking, at least on the 22nd, maybe we can get that.
Cause at the last BOS meeting, talked about, for the most part, it's functioning as a working group.
Again,
And, you know,
we're
we'll
not
take
a
our
working
minutes,
group.
but, okay.
I thought we were, but apparently according to Linda and the warrant article that passed, we are not. We
Okay.
are a committee.
All right.
So we would, is that February 22nd?
No, it's January 22nd?
Okay, we can just explain what we've accomplished throughout the year and then our opinion on.
On the CIP. Okay, so I did 11,
That will keep us
so
busy.
we're only having the one in December. No, we said second one, do we have a second one?
We're pretty much doing every other Thursday, for the most
Yeah.
part, or 2 Thursdays a month.
12/18,
12/4,
1/8.
12/18, yeah, 1/8,
1/8,
1/22.
1/22. All at 9:30.
Yep.
Alright,
Okay, and so, Tia, are you gonna do the notice to put up on the bulletin boards to show all these
Yeah.
dates? Okay.
I'll do that.
We do a pretty one for rec. Well, not that I've been to a rec meeting in forever, but a nice little notice that we did.
Okay, is there anything else that we need to do at this meeting before we wrap it up?
I think we covered your agenda.
We
Yeah,
definitely covered
and
your
some.
agenda and then some.
Thanks for the civic lesson.
Right.
It's helpful.
I will, send these minutes out so that you guys can take a look at it and add where I may not have taken well enough notes. And you might wanna add something to it. I'll get these sent out by next week. We do have a responsibility to have draft notes available for the public 5 days after the meeting. This, if I Xeroxed or copied it, would suffice for draft notes,
Oh my
but,
goodness.
but God help anybody who's trying to read this. So I like to at least get them typed up and, at least in some format that's readable.
Okay,
Okay,
that would be helpful.
and then, obviously, and I'll help you draft an agenda for the next meeting. Again, cause we'll have to approve minutes and those kinds of things. I can just take a look at the template that I use for the veterans meetings, the ABC, and sometimes for the zoning board, so.
Okay,
It's fairly easy.
alright,
Draft
sounds good.
agenda for Tia. And then that way you can send that out along with the draft minutes,
Agenda, draft minutes, and,
whatever
For Linda.
updates from the CIP that we get,
okay.
yeah,
Alright, great.
okay?
Do we need to formally adjourn?
We
or-
do.
Okay.
And it's easy to say, there being no further business before the board, do I have a motion to close the meeting?
Do I have a motion?
I will make said motion to close this wonderful meeting
I will second.
and go get lunch.
All in
Alright,
favor?
Yes, aye.
All right, so
Aye.
then you state the time, 12:52, the meeting is adjourned. And the next meeting will be on November 6th at 9:30 a.m. here in the basement of Town Hall, or the conference room of Town Hall.
See, we should be